Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news and reviews, uh, gaming news, TV and okay, I messed this up. It's a late hour. It's a late hour. Let me say this again, where we discuss pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and the general conversations of the day. Those who don't know me, I'm Price of Reason, and with me, as always, is my co-host Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Oh, it's going all right. Was there anything in the news today at all besides a bunch of
Wild news day.
teenager whiny BS infighting nonsense? Like I'm gonna give you props. I love that thumbnail. Just so you know, that thumbnail is great.
Yeah, I liked it
I love
too.
it.
I really enjoyed the thumbnail.
Jeez, what like just high school, middle school drama BS. People go, oh, well, I wasn't on the Epstein list. Oh my god.
A lot of weird things. A lot of weird things on
Oh, we'll get
happening
into
now.
it. We'll get into it, but it's
We'll,
just
we'll definitely get into it,
so
and
much.
there's no way around. This is like a top story for sure. But yeah, so I guess let's dive into it.
Uh,
Basically, you know,
yeah,
I'll say this on this show. We have been saying this for a while now that gradually Elon Musk is looking less happy and less happy, and every time we kind of said something, we were almost, I would say, ahead of the curve. Like, we knew already that this was heading in a certain direction, and with everything that we knew and everything that I thought, I still did not expect the type of explosion we got today. This is like, there was always this feeling that at some point they're not going to see eye to eye and there's going to be a disagreement, and yet still this is way more accelerated and out there and sort of extreme than anything I could have foreseen in advance. I think this is more than I expected. How about you?
it just went full on ridiculous today with this whole thing between Trump and Elon. Like, you know what? I completely get his feelings. I completely understand his feelings that this big beautiful bill is not doing what he had expected or what he was hoping that it was going to do. That the idea that there was going to be, spending bill, there were going to be tax cuts and so on, that all of this was actually going to help to lower the national debt. It was going to help to lower the deficits for spending. And then, I think that was a big focus of what he was hoping to achieve, because that was really the focus of Doge when he came in, was let's cut all of these expenses where we can so that we're not wasting money and we can start to bring down our spending deficits, and so that we can bring down our overall debt. And then there's the big beautiful bill, which just also turns around, spends a whole lot of money, and then doesn't doesn't really do anything to change the deficits, at least not in a significant amount. And then also has attached to it, oh well, let's just raise our debt limit again. So I totally get his feelings on that, and agree with them for the most part. But then now there's all the other childish stuff that's going along with it that's just driving me crazy, Price.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a situation where you can understand different people and what they're doing. First of all, generally speaking, it's not that I think that Elon Musk is wrong, that there shouldn't be too much spending. I think the idea of Doge and of cutting things down and what he was trying to do, I don't think that's a bad thing. At the same time, when you run a country, it's not the same as running a company. Elon Musk, I think, is coming from a direction of like, when he bought X, he just fired like three-quarters of the people, did whatever he wanted. He slept on the floor, and now there's this, there's that, and he produced results. In my opinion, he actually did something positive with the platform, or even from a business perspective. I think that he did do the right things with it. But I'm saying that running a country is different. And I think sometimes you need patience when you have these kind of Congress people and bills and all this other politics and nonsense. Unfortunately, it's not the same as running a company. And as much as I appreciate Elon Musk and the type of things that he was saying, which I agree with a lot of them, I think that the way he kind of lashed out is way over the top and not what he should have been doing. And when it comes to Trump, I don't know. Trump is also a character. To tell you that I think,
Definitely.
to tell you
Definitely.
that I think all this spending is great, I wouldn't say that. But most presidents, at the end, no matter what party they are, what they do, they promise a lot of stuff. If you can get some of the stuff that they promise done, you're lucky. A lot of times they just promise a bunch of stuff and they can't deliver it. And a lot of times these kind of bills, when they go to Congress, they end up with all these people with different interest groups and lobbyists and people pulling in all these different directions. And you're not always going to get these type of bills in a way that you love it. Elon's like, oh, well, make sure they're all real. Like everybody loses the election, and we put other people there. This is politics. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, when it comes to politics, you can't always control the people. It's not the same thing as when you own the company and they work for you. And I think that these different mentalities here, that's the real issue. But if I were Elon, I would have done everything behind the scenes. Whatever happened today, I don't think it was good for anybody. I don't think it was good for Trump. I don't think it was good for Elon. I don't think it was good for the country. It's not a good look, these type of beefs. Some people thought, I mean, let's hear your thoughts first of all.
No, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good for Elon. It's not good for Trump. It's not good for the country. The constant back and forth. And in fact, you have heard earlier today, Elon was saying essentially the same thing. Like, yes, we need to make up. We need for the good of the country, for the good of trying to move forward. We need to try and make up. But also, he suggested that they should start an entirely new party. So that's just what we need, is a third party run by Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, all of this sounded unrealistic to me. And there's one thing that that I was thinking to myself initially. I thought to myself, maybe this is staged. Maybe this is all just because Trump can now go to Congress, to his own Republicans that annoyed him and wanted all this stuff in the bill, that maybe some of it he didn't want. And maybe he can say, listen, this has become a real issue for me. We can't do this. There was like $100 million that Elon Musk was supposed to contribute to Republicans, and now he says he's not going to give them. So he can now present this as a real crisis. So I thought maybe that it's like kabuki theater. You know what I mean? It's like a show and tell. They're pretending to do all this stuff, and at the end, they're all going to get what they want, Trump and Elon, and then they're going to be in the Oval Office and all buddy buddy. But I thought all of that until one thing happened. Once Jeffrey's Island Mr. Jeffrey's Island was brought into the mix, I started thinking to myself, man, this doesn't look like an act anymore. This doesn't look like a show and tell. Once you drag like Jeffrey and his island into the thing, that's usually a really, really harsh kind of red line that you've crossed. And that's when I started thinking to myself, this doesn't look like it's staged. What do you think?
Oh no, I don't think it's staged. I think you've got a bunch of egos that all want to be heard, and all I mean, we know. Good grief, you've got Elon out there who loves nothing more than to sit on X all day long and just share his thoughts about anything and everything with everyone. And I as I said, I think he came in with some expectations in the work that he was doing for the federal government with Trump, and then has been real upset with where they've been going with this bill. And I think all of that has been genuine. And now there's the whole thing with him him supposedly saying something. He said something about, oh, well, Trump was on the Epstein list or something, and so now people are saying, "Oh, that's why the Epstein list isn't coming out." And but it's all just so ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the moment, and I'm going to try to share it. This is the moment where things really took a turn, as far as I'm concerned. This is the part where he goes, "Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump." And then he even wrote, "Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out." This is real serious. You know what I mean? If
That's
all of this today would
that's
have
a
happened
serious
without
allegation. Yeah.
right, and one that I don't know if he can provide any evidence, or you don't just go around saying that about the president unless you have something, and it doesn't even matter who the president is. I would say that even if he was talking about, a Democrat president or any president, if you're going to go and call out the president of the United States on something like this, you better have some concrete evidence. And just saying something like this, I don't know. I mean, if people mark this post and it turns out that he was just angry and saying a bunch of nonsense, it's not going to be a good look for him. And then, this is the part where also before that he was saying, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. And I have to actually agree with Elon here that he said before that he was okay with these credits being taken away if it meant, you know, cutting spending and things like that.
Yeah,
So
he said that pretty publicly, that he was
repeatedly, on a
yeah.
number of occasions I've seen him said that. So that doesn't really look like it to me. Uh, there's a lot of things. Also, there's something else happened here that
Oh, you're
I
not, sharing it so we can see it, Price.
oh
Oh,
no, I
yeah,
didn't share until now.
presentation, there you go.
I was just looking at it myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
In any case, so there's this thing. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year, and that's after one of his like peeps said, "Can I finally say that Trump's tariffs are super stupid?" These are really, really like big things he's throwing at him, and these video with Jeffrey and all this other stuff. Now, I still think it's okay to be a man of principle, and it's okay to believe in a lot of things. And in a way, he's not he's eccentric, Elon. He's surely eccentric, but he's also not stupid. It's not like his brain cells don't work when it comes to thinking about numbers and thinking about decision making on a business level. Nobody could say that the guy doesn't know what he's doing, like talking about. But even so, like I said, government, politicians, the president, these are all different things. Even if you spent a lot of money in the campaign, even though you're his buddy and you're like a friend of the White House and all that stuff, I think that, having this type of, I don't even know if to say it's a meltdown or what to say, but this is bonkers in my opinion. Too way over the top.
You're way over the top. Yes. Yeah.
Do you think it's a point of no return at this point, or do you think that there's a situation where somehow somebody fixes what we just saw here? Because man, I don't know how to fix this. This is like I said, everything else maybe you could have fixed. Once it was the Jeffrey Island, that already makes it difficult. Do you think that there's a way these guys are gonna make up?
Yes, I do think it's possible for them to patch things up. It's so embarrassing. Talk about two grown, I'm sorry, Sean, two grown fucking adults. And we're talking about them having this ridiculous public spat. It's absurd. It's
It's not good for anybody. It's not good for business. It's not good for the
no,
US.
it's not.
It's not
It's not good for anyone. It's not good for their businesses. It's not good for the bills. It's not good for governance. It's not good for for anything that's going on. And they need to just shut the hell up and either part ways or figure out what they can do to get things done together. Because I do think I will be completely honest. I think at this point uh, that Trump is quite frustrated. Elon's very frustrated with this whole thing simply because he wanted a lot of this to go a different way. He wanted to be able to actually start cutting and lowering the deficit, because I think he genuinely does believe, and many people do believe and understand that our debt has gotten to a level that is pretty ridiculous. It's getting to a point where we are going to be spending an enormous amount of our budget every year just on covering the interest. Just covering the financing on that debt. So when we spend so much of our money every single year just to help cover the debt that we've already racked up, we simply can't sustain that over time, because that means eventually now that's less and less money that we have that we can actually use for programs and things. And so it is not reasonable to say, oh, we're just going to keep spending this enormous amount of money and we're never going to do anything to address the debt, because it's just going to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing, because we've got a bunch of these new style economists who just say, it's no big deal, you just keep printing money. It's no big deal. Well, we saw what happens when you keep printing money. We got a ridiculous level of inflation, and it did an enormous amount of damage to our economy. And people are still recovering and will still be recovering from what happened with that inflation over the past few years. They'll be recovering you know, for another a decade, some people. And so it, threw our economy into, massive chaos. And what will happen if that debt continues to grow and we have to keep printing money is that you go into hyperinflation, where now, if you look at what's happened in some countries, you get this hyperinflation where, a loaf of bread at, at 10 a.m. in the morning will cost you $14, and that same loaf of bread by the end of the day will cost you $44, because it's just the inflation is just so completely out of whack. And then you get to a point where you're spending $10,000 on a loaf of bread because the money is worthless, right? So if the government just keeps printing all of this ridiculous money to try and dig its way out of debt, eventually it's just going to destroy the economy. We have got to start cutting our spending. We have to do it. It's not a matter of, well, we'll get there eventually. No, it needs to start now, so that we can start making that the norm throughout these 4 years of Trump. And then hopefully, some years after that with JD Vance or someone else. We cannot sustain the absolutely absurd level of spending that we've had, and just keep this debt the way it is. So I completely understand that Elon Musk there's a line that he's not going to cross, and that is continuing to spend in a way that raises our debt every single year, because we can't keep doing it. Trump, on the other hand, I think is very, very frustrated because a lot of his agenda keeps getting pushed back, or it keeps getting hobbled by a number of different things. Some of it's getting disrupted by the Republicans in Congress. Some of it is getting disrupted by all of these judges all over the country that have just decided that they're the ones that get to decide on foreign policy. They're the ones that get to decide on who's allowed inside the country and what immigration policy is going to be enforced and what's not. And all of that is going to have to be dealt with sooner or later. But I think that's left Trump very frustrated as to trying to enact some of his agenda. And what's going to happen is they are going to have to finally step up and really start, as an administration, as the Trump administration, start working with the Republicans in Congress to start introducing more and more bills into Congress and getting those passed, instead of continually trying to just put everything that Trump wants out there as an executive order. So yeah, I think there's a lot of frustration on both sides, and it's so frustrating to have to keep
We have a
listening to
one.
this just childish stuff going through today. It's ridiculous.
I agree with you. We have a $1 Rumble rant from Mr. Phobos that says this is exactly like Trump behaved towards Thomas Massey when he voted against the spending bill. People used to getting their way are bratty when they don't get it.
It's true. It's very
You
true,
know,
as Phobos, and he was also saying in the chat, just saying our debt is unsustainable. It is. The debt is unsustainable. When we have gotten to a point where a quarter of our budget that we have to put in every year, quarter of the money we have to spend every year of the federal government is just servicing our debt. That's wild.
Vex Electronica, Elon Musk gets a baby back. Huge. Smilex, I hope they kiss and make up with used tongues and kiss, and we can record it and watch. I'm not really looking forward to that, but okay. And let's see if there was some other comments. Congress is part of the Uni Party. They hate Trump and they won't accept single bills, dude. Hello, as a Brit, I like Elon and Trump. I understand people can always see eye to eye, but causing division can derail the good work they do together to drain the swamp. Yeah, I mean, I think that with all of its ups and downs, and it was obvious they were never going to agree on everything, there was kind of this feeling that as long as they could make that cooperation work, it was pretty good. And I already noticed recently, and we've seen it for a while, this has been something happening in the past few months. Elon gradually tweets less enthusiastic, less supportive, less. You could tell that there were things happening behind the scenes, and I think that Trump did try to present it as business as usual, but really, and this is just my opinion, I think that with all the work that Elon did with Doge and what he was still planning on doing with that, and then them doing this bill with so much spending, I think that's what made him snap. Uh, Now, I still think that it would have been better if it wasn't a public snap and if something more behind the scenes. I think that that would have been better for everybody involved. We'll have to see how it plays out. Somebody says here, maybe it was Caleb Levine, or somebody said that in the past he had arguments with Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and he spoke. They said some very harsh things about each other. But with all of the harsh things that were said, I still think that Elon talking about Jeffrey's Island, I do think that that's a step beyond anything we've seen until now. There were bad things like what Trump said about Ted Cruz's father. There were some things that were very mean spirited, but this somehow feels worse.
Yeah, it's getting just ridiculous. And you wouldn't it be nice if we just had some grown-ups in the room, right? Who understood how to balance a checkbook and
Yeah, it's
understood
crucial.
something about the economy. It's
Absolutely.
and didn't just spend hours every day just backbiting and arguing and I don't know, passing notes in class. I don't know what the hell else they do.
So I just want to say on the YouTube side, it's the Phobos, who's a member for 6 months, sent 5 Price of Reason Live gift memberships.
Yes, thank you
So
for that,
thank you very
Phobos.
much. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Istophobos. That's very nice of you. Istophobos is a friend of the channel. You can even see him here occasionally on streams, and make sure you check out whatever Istophobos is doing. He's a good guy. And yeah, I think that most people were basically frustrated. I did like that JD Vance was able to have a bit of a sense of humor in this thing that it's like slow news day. What are we even going to talk about
Yeah.
with Theo Von? And yeah, it is a tricky time. And then Elon Musk says if America goes broke, nothing else matters.
Yep. Yep. And
Listen, it's not.
I put it in the chat that it is projected that in 2025, for the first time, our interest payments, the service on our national debt, that is money that goes to nothing other than covering the interest on the debt that we already owe, will exceed $1 trillion for the first time in American history. That's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think people have mentioned it in the chat, and it's fair to mention this. We don't, because he's very high functioning in many ways, and he's smart, and he's like the richest man in the world. Sometimes we forget that the guy is a bit on the spectrum there. So that is a complication in and of itself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It makes him sort of unpredictable, and the thing is, to date, most of the time that Elon Musk had these kind of, people were saying crash out or whatever you want to call it, he then did something big. He bought Twitter, he did this, he did that. He went against Disney, and in a lot of times his actions are good, but that's more in like corporate world, even stuff that has to do with politics in terms of free speech. I'll give him credit for that. But dealing with like the Washington, you want to call it Washington swamp or whatever it is, I don't think that overnight you could just change a system 100%, that suddenly the bill will be 100% the way you wanted it with everything that you wanted. I don't know that you could do that. I can understand why he'd be frustrated, but I don't really think that he should have gone about it the way he did.
No, no. And like you said, like we've already kind of said, all this happening in public and everything, it's not in anyone's best interest. It's really not.
Uh, yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah, it's like what else do we say about it, right?
no, I mean,
Uh,
I'm trying to think if there was, I saw Bill Ackman, I think, was saying today that they should find a way. I think a lot of people really want them to somehow make up, because it also leaves a lot of people in a strange situation. If you're now a Republican, you don't want to upset Elon Musk. You don't want to go out and say bad things about him, because don't forget that Elon Musk still has the platform X, and he also has a lot of money that he initially wanted to donate to Republican causes. Now, who knows what he'll do? And in a lot of cases, maybe he's going to want to remove anybody that annoys him now, that says something out of place. He's going to just put a lot of money into his competitor in whatever elections they have. So if you're a politician, you don't want to be saying a word about him. Uh, at the same time, you don't want to upset Trump either. So it's kind of, I feel like a lot of people now in all these orbits are like between a rock and a hard place. And this also goes with business and businessmen and other titans of industry or whatever you want to call them, and in the financial world, tech world, this is not good for anybody. That's what I think. There was one interesting thing that's at some point somebody suggested that they impeach Donald Trump or something like that, and then that JD Vance replace him, and he actually either liked or shared that tweet. So he's already thinking on in a bunch of different directions, but in my opinion, all of this is just, it's irrelevant, and I don't know why he's doing all of it, and I don't think it's going to help him. And I say that as somebody, I don't take what he does lightly. I think he's done a lot of things and he's succeeded in them. I just think maybe this time he's perhaps stepped over the line or gone too far or something.
yep, yep. It's just, and then you get all the people coming in with conspiracy theories and whatnot, and uh, it's
Here, it was this thing.
yeah,
I support real Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. I don't disagree with him. I actually agree with what he's saying. I think that is a good message, and I agree with it.
yeah, yeah. He's right. Yep, yep.
It's almost like you were saying. It's almost like kids. It's a bit selfish. I think that Elon hit harder than Trump today. Meaning Trump like said a few of his usual Trumpy things that he likes to do, but I feel like Elon Musk gave a much bigger, to talk about the tariffs causing a recession, mentioning Jeffrey and his island. These are much harsher things. Yeah, Trump probably shouldn't have started it. Trump shouldn't have started going in the direction of, oh, with the EV credits, he went crazy. I don't think that Trump should have done that. So if I had to give something that I think that was a miscalculated mistake on his end, I wouldn't have said that if I was Trump. But on the other hand, even if Trump said all that, to go as far as Elon did, I think it's too much. And it does end up like looking like a few teenagers arguing. But we'll see how it plays out. Let's see what the people in the chat think. Uh, Somebody says two sides of communism. I don't know that. Phoenicians taught the Greeks the alphabet. Is that because I said that we would review that movie, Phoenicians? I don't know what did This Is My Name say. Everything is happening so fast here.
Yeah.
This Is My Name is very feisty today.
Yes.
Actually, I consider the professor kind of knowledgeable about stuff. That's personally what I think. In any case, listen, it's a heated debate, and I think that there's a place for all of us to discuss it, but we don't have to act like teenagers ourselves. So everybody can say whatever their opinion is, but I don't think that there's any reason to insult anybody sitting here on this stream or each other here, you know?
No. No, I don't think it's necessary for anybody to insult anyone. And if someone, doesn't enjoy what we have to say here, they they don't have to watch, and that's fine as well. And we also don't mind if you disagree. Just disagree respectfully. So
We're
that's
always
all.
respectful.
Yeah.
We don't attack each other, and we're not going to attack people in the chat. There will
Yeah.
be often times where we say things and maybe people in the chat will have a different opinion. Sometimes I think that it's healthy to have different opinions and actually talk about it.
Yeah.
Uh, if that's what Trump and Elon did, we wouldn't be in the situation we're at now, because just saying, not liking somebody says and then attacking them, personally, I think that that's actually not a good way to go. It's the Phobos gave $1 here, and he said on a Rumble rant, the only reason Elon didn't go to the island is that he likes adults. Plus, he has his own island. At least he's public about it. Yes, I didn't know that. Let's see. There was another one here. Oh, we already got that one. Okay. Obviously, people have different opinions here.
Yeah.
And people are passionate, and I don't have an issue with that. But yeah, we try to be nice to each other. It's the best we could do. Oh, see, this topic is making people argue with each other.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But what was I going to say? Bigot on social media says insult the politicians. Yeah, I mean, we're not the ones, and I think that it's not only just Trump and Elon. I think that if this is just my 2 cents, Trump, at the end of the day, he has to make whatever he has to make work. It's not like running a company. You have to do sometimes deals in politics that you do stuff that maybe you don't like, and you need some bill to go through. And sometimes you have to accept all these concessions. Maybe you have a lot of resistance within your own party, and you're in a situation where you don't have a choice. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm not saying that I'm not giving compliments on it, but I'm saying that I think that Trump is probably more practical, whereas Elon is like unwilling to compromise on the smallest detail. And the best thing is if there's two people like that kind of brainstorming and working together, maybe you come up with a middle ground where you insist on some stuff and you make a big stink about it, which Elon can definitely do with the X and with all the platform that he has to speak. He could definitely bring attention to the things he doesn't like, but it doesn't need to go as far as it did. And I also think that Trump, given that Elon did contribute so much money to his campaign and did, people are saying, well, because of what happened with the attempt on his life, Trump basically won the election there. That's what people are saying. I would still argue that even though that incident certainly, I think, helped the tide shift or something like that, I think the fact that Elon owned X and he lets people talk about it freely, like talk there freely, did give
Yeah.
Trump an edge. It's not negligible what happened on X. So instead of everybody trying to take credit for everything, I think that they could just, both take credit for whatever they did and try to think what's actually good for the country and not just argue about stupid crap. That's my personal opinion. I hope that they find a way to make up. It's not good for markets. It's not good for Tesla stock. People are saying they're going to probably remove him from the board. At the end, it wouldn't surprise me. At the end, somebody one day is going to get annoyed at Elon Musk and they're going to remove him probably. It's kind of on one hand, it's good to have him around because he does a lot of things that are very like visionary. But on the other hand, he has all these mood swings and he's so wacky that sometimes I think it provides like instability to a company.
Yep. And we don't need to worry about this is my name in the chat anymore. Got a little too spicy, and so he's gone. So
I understand.
yeah, it's if you want to disagree with me, that's fine. I don't mind. I can take it. If you want to say I don't know what I'm talking about and ask questions about some of the assumptions that I'm making, that's fine too. You're not going to insult people in the chat and call them nasty names and stick around. So, cheers to you. This is my name. We will not be seeing your like again.
That's fine by me. I was talking, so I wasn't looking, so I didn't
Yeah,
actually
that's
see
fine.
the.
No, it
But
started calling people in the chat names, and that I wasn't going to do that. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, the thing is that I've said it before. Be passionate, talk about whatever you want, and you can disagree with us. You can say, you know what, Price, I don't agree with what you're saying. I think that like you're wrong about everything, and I have a completely different opinion. And you can write what that opinion is, and I'm not going to dismiss it that you have a different opinion. We have some people here with different views. There are certain people that I write things. I think that there's Marla Sharondoff that I thought I saw her name here. I feel like Marla Sharondoff probably doesn't agree with one word that I say, but she does come to our streams and she hangs out. Usually, I feel like she probably doesn't like anything that I say, but I like that she's here and I like her opinions. And even if I don't agree with somebody, I still enjoy having the conversation.
yeah, exactly. Want to have a conversation, want to be able to chat, want to be respectful of each other. Again, I have friends who are are deeply liberal, and we get along
Same.
because we are willing to have a discussion. And in the end, we still care for each other. We still have each other's back. That's what's important. If we continue down the path, genuinely, the U.S. has been going down for 20 plus years of this. Well, if you're not on my side politically, that I can't be your friend, that I can't associate with you, whatever. That is deeply unhealthy. And sometimes we have to be able to say, you know what, despite our differences, we're still going to get along. So um, that's
Why are you
if
suppressing open debate and controversy?
we're
We weren't
not.
suppressing that. The thing is, if somebody's going to be in the chat and start attacking personally other people in the chat and us without actually making an argument, just be here to attack people. That becomes not so much as like open debate as he just wants to sit and insult people without really saying anything. That really becomes like a guy that's just coming here to stir up weird shit, and it's not a guy that really came to, you know,
Yeah,
right,
not here in good faith to have a
right,
conversation. Just
good
here
faith.
to
I will say,
stir stuff
I
up.
I'm gonna say this one sentence, and I'm not gonna dwell on it. There have been times, even on videos and things like that, that maybe a certain person that maybe just was here and now is not here, wrote certain comments, answered things, and there's always something very kind of. I don't want to say that some of these comments have felt very personal criticism. I try my best. I really have thick skin and I try my best. But as Professor said, that this isn't also a comment that he sent to us personally. It's not even something that he's saying about me and the professor. Once he starts attacking other people in the chat, we have to at the end just say, okay, well, this is it. We don't want people to not enjoy themselves listening to the stream because some person is personally attacking them. So
Yep.
yeah,
And
sorry, Sean.
as Bigot on social media said over on Rumble, he said there's a difference between defending your views and insulting people. So absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, people say wild things sometimes, and I it doesn't. You kind of know when a person is coming from a place that's like mean spirited, or a person maybe has an opinion that you don't agree with. Those are two very different things.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
If you wouldn't
So
say
yeah,
it in person, you shouldn't say it online. That's from Adam Gray.
no doubt.
And I agree with you. Basically, I don't even feel good about just attacking people like that in that way.
Oh, not
Uh,
at all. No.
sometimes, I guess what I'm saying is I can criticize people sometimes, and I can be harsh, and even be like, you could say I'm a bit of a douche, but I think it's not. There's still some criticism about that what that person did. Well noted says, "What are we talking about when there's so much at stake? There is a lot at stake, and I think that that's why people are so kind of aggressive, jumpy, and arguing. I think that for a while now, ever since maybe last year, there's been this feeling of Elon and Trump, they're on the same page, and a lot of people supported that. A lot of people found themselves kind of comforted uh, by this synergy between these two figures. It was clear that they don't always agree, and I think that there was a feeling that at some point they're going to be arguing about some stuff, and yet still, once it happened, I think that even it affected markets and stuff. I think that once people saw this causes sort of an uneasy feeling, just seeing this argument play out.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. So, and then yeah, you just one person, going wild and saying all sorts of crazy stuff. Now everyone else wants to go wild and say crazy stuff. Whatever. It is what it is. So, what else do we have? Price. We were talking about Trump and Elon and their little spat. Again, I hope that this gets resolved soon. I do understand on both sides. I know that Trump has an agenda he wants to push forward. He wants to be able to move forward and get a win on the quote unquote big beautiful bill. And then I know that Elon is very principled in what he believes as far as everything that he's been saying about the national debt, lowering our expenditures and our deficits. And so I think that's very important too. But I think there is a way for those two to come together.
I
Did
hope so.
what else did you what did you have
Well, I
for us
just
there?
want a few comments before we move on. There's
Yeah.
Bigot on socialist media. I was critical of Trump more than Elon in this situation, but you can express dissatisfaction, probably find common ground if people don't get angry so quickly. It did escalate very quickly, and I will say that, and I think this is something that Elon, in between all of his weird things that he was doing, he mentioned somewhere, or he was retweeting somebody that said that Trump actually was the one that started with the personal attacks. And maybe that thing with Trump saying that the reason Elon is upset with the bill is because they cut the they didn't include the EV credit or whatever it is, they cut that out. I personally think that Trump probably shouldn't have said that. I agree. I think he shouldn't have said that. And there was something about the way he said it that felt a bit more personal. And yet, still, as much as that was sort of probably not what Trump should have done, Elon, it's as if like Trump brought like a Glock, and then fired a shot, and then Elon brought like a bazooka and fired back. It just seems like it was an over the top response. Maybe at that point there was a way to cooler heads needed to get involved there and sort of put this fire out. So nobody gets away, in my opinion, scot free here. And at the end of the day, this isn't a good look for America. It isn't a good look for both of these guys. And we don't benefit from this type of argument in any way. The markets don't benefit. So yeah, you can choose a side. You can say you like this guy, you like that guy. Personally, if you want to know my opinion, there's only a limited amount of faith that I put in politicians or public figures. I don't put any of these people on pedestals. That's the exact reason why I've told you before. I've never registered with a political party. I myself, I understand that politics, and especially in our day and age, you can't ignore it, and you have to be knowledgeable, and you have to, it's fine to have an opinion. But I would stop short of putting anybody, even Elon Musk or Trump, on this pedestal that they're perfect and everything that they do is perfect. Because some people are just they pick a team, and it's almost like you're rooting for some basketball team. It's like, well, this is my team. I'm going to just say everything they do is great. And I'm not like that. I think that people, even people that I respect that hold office, that are public figures, they should also be. You can criticize them. I'm not like one of those weird lefty meltdown people. I'm not sitting around whining all day, but I'm saying nobody is beyond criticism, in my opinion.
No, absolutely not. No one's beyond criticism. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Well noted. There you go again, telling us how to be nice and agreeable. I'm not saying to anybody to be nice and agreeable. I'm saying, you know what? You don't have to agree with each other at all. I'm just saying that attacking people personally, I don't think that it helps a conversation. That's my opinion. Sleeping Giant says we got played, folks. I mean, that's a sentiment because a lot of times people really hope that Trump was coming in and draining the swamp. This bill feels like it's not exactly what he was saying. It's not a good bill. I mean, there are issues with the bill, in my opinion, at least. Nobody was right. Yeah, that sometimes happens too. Amy S. I remember watching a movie ages ago, Star Trek, I think, when Kirk and one of his subordinates had a disagreement, but it was old school behind closed doors and two gentlemen sorting it out. That was the Next Generation. That was Worf and Data. That basically Data, if I'm not mistaken, was given command of the ship, and
Yes.
Worf questions his authority. So they go in a separate room, and then they talk about what happened, iron out all the things together, and then they completely mend whatever that's going on. They both understand each other's position. They go outside. No more of that nonsense. So yeah, that was a good episode. It was Star Trek, not Star Wars, and instead of Kirk, it was Data and Worf. At least that's what I think. Unless there's another
Yeah, I do
episode, and
I
that's
do remember
possible.
that one. And that was, that was, yeah, that was actually a really good lesson in how to handle things, like not out in front of the troops, right? You kind of went behind closed doors and you said, "You know what you did, that was inappropriate. And I expect in the future that you will behave, differently." And he puts up his argument, says, "Oh, no, no, I was doing it. I thought I was doing it this way." And he says, "No, that's not how it actually played out. And in the future, please, if you can't do this job, then I'll find someone who can. But I would appreciate it if you would continue here. And I hope." And then he says basically, "I hope this didn't ruin our friendship." Right. And Worf has to be like, "No, you were right." Chain of command and all of that. And no, this hasn't ruined our friendship. Yeah, yeah. I do remember something of that scene. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. Now
uh,
people are saying that guy that wasn't nice to people in the chat actually has a history of going to streams like
he's
ours and
yeah,
just
messing around in other streams. Yeah.
picking fights with people. So yeah, none of that really is a surprise. Well noted says I'm hearing about a Thiel Musk combo for a centrist party based upon alien culture of EM. The thing is that he did actually mention today, is like, oh, I'm doing a
Yeah.
poll, I want to start a new party. Realistically, it's very, very tough to start a new party and to actually have it matter. It's really, really tough in this country to do it. For years, you had a situation where people tried this. You had Ross Perot that they wouldn't let him debate and all this other stuff. Uh, it's not easy to say that you're going to do that. Now, if anybody could possibly do something like that, maybe it would be Elon, but to come up with a party that would somehow dominate the political spectrum, that is a really, really crazy thing. I mean, never say never, but I don't think that sounds very realistic. I think that his best bet is to mend his relationship with Trump, if that's even possible.
Hmm.
Anyhow, I
Okay.
guess we've gone through a lot of this. If anybody in the comments wants to still make a few comments, do you have anything to sum up this issue? Is there anything like every second something else happens? So I wonder if we've missed something. What's JD Vance
we
except for that
we just
funny tweet? JD Vance also has been relatively quiet
yeah, he has. I
because
think I'll be honest. I think that's probably for the best.
I think that what happened is that actually JD Vance is one of the. I think that Elon and other business people from the tech world really lobbied for JD Vance to be the vice president. And I think that that's why right now probably JD Vance is keeping his mouth shut. He doesn't want to get involved in the crossfires here. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, some people saying
Marla
that.
Sharondoff says that she likes David Bowie in Labyrinth. Yes, that was a good movie. He
Oh,
was good
yeah.
in that.
Very enjoyable, yeah. It's that would be
Uh,
that would be good. Yep.
I would like to see that list, though. We were promised it. Uh, are you
Yeah.
talking about the Jeffrey Island list?
Yes, the island person's list, yeah.
You know, once I did such a good. I did a video, and I on YouTube. Sometimes I think today it doesn't matter. I hope it doesn't matter, but I did like a video, a review about a movie, and I wanted to mention the island thing with Jeffrey, and I tried to work around it, so I called it Jeffrey's Island, and I did a graphic. And man, I actually it was before this was a year ago, but I think that even a year ago, AI wasn't where it is now. Maybe today AI could do this quicker, but I actually did it myself in Photoshop, and man, did it make me laugh! Like it was such a great graphic, and I feel like nobody's ever given me the credit that I deserve. I'm like Elon now. Nobody now I'm like Elon Musk. Nobody's ever been giving me the credit I deserve for the graphic. Such a good graphic. Do you know what I'm talking about, or do you have any idea?
No.
So it was a movie called Blink Twice that Zoe Kravitz,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
the daughter
The
of
the name.
Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet, made this movie where there's women on an island that there's like businessmen that like to serve them grapes and basically I wanted to mention that island, but I didn't want to get into trouble, so I came up with a workaround, and I'll at least see if I can find the graphic, because maybe that'll be a nice light way to move forward. But I think the graphic is legit.
Yeah, yeah, just kinda I'm trying to look at some of the
Okay,
other
tell some jokes, Professor. Oh,
chats.
here I found it.
Tell some jokes. Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if I can share it. I love this graphic. I don't get enough credit for the wonderful graphic that I did. I thought this was funny. This was like a deep cut because it was like, Gilligan's Island, but with Jeffrey. And like the idea that it's like Jeffrey's Island, only I did a Gilligan. I thought that was funny. And I actually went into Photoshop and like did this. Not that it's great Photoshopping, but I still thought this was fun. And nobody said anything positive.
Sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip.
I mean, today with AI, I'm surprised somebody isn't already on this. You know what I mean? Making like a funny
Oh, no.
meme AI
Yeah.
video of this.
Oh,
But
yeah, no.
Sleeping Giant says, "I love that show back in the day." Yes,
Yes.
a lot of very powerful people seem to have loved Jeffrey's Island. If
Yep.
the two parties are all financed by the same people, that's just one party. I mean, that's another thing. I think that let's not kid ourselves. There was always all these influences in politics, but over the years, the amount of money and lobbyists and special interest groups and PACs and super PACs and all this stuff that have been going into it, I think that it's really become like this monstrosity, and I don't know how easily you change that. But yeah, this was my wonderful meme. That movie, by the way, the Blink Twice was it was a somewhat competently made movie, but I didn't enjoy it. So it was a rare case where I could say that. I mean, again, I didn't give it a high grade or anything, but I said like it was a movie. It's just I sat in the theater and really felt depressed that I had to watch the movie. Like I would never recommend anybody watch Blink Twice unless they had to for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Uh,
I do remember that, being promoted at the time, but, once you said the name, I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I do remember that," but
Barbara says, "I can't joke about it, it's repulsive." Well, the thing is,
yeah.
inside my review, I was referring to that, and I didn't know how to bring it up, so I tried to do it in a way that was more lighthearted, but yes, it's not something to joke about, I tend to agree
No.
with you.
No,
E
sometimes, even, like, the horrible things, like, you have to kind of approach them with some humor, you know what I mean? Like, it's just how sometimes some people deal with it, right?
Right. Uh, Amazon donates to both sides, that's what Bigot on Socialist Media says. You're probably right.
Yeah.
At the end, we have to also take into consideration you have a bunch of billionaires doing a bunch of things. As much as we want that to be stuff that's good for us, you never really know. You know, we have to accept the fact that we're not billionaires.
Nope.
It's like George Carlin used to say, it's a big party and we ain't invited or something like that. I don't know what.
Yeah. Yep. Whew.
Anyhow,
Yeah. So, hey,
what I
yeah.
do want to see, because we've really gone over all this like
Yeah.
Elon and Trump stuff, and I think that over the next few days we'll see how this thing plays out. If maybe some cooler heads are getting involved now and trying to create some kind of truce or anything, I would hope so, but who knows? We'll see. We'll continue to monitor it. On a different note, completely, I saw a movie today called The Phoenician Scheme. Have you heard of it?
I have. This is, the newest one from Wes Anderson, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This one, I'm not a huge fan of Wes Anderson. I have enjoyed some of his films, but a lot of them feel, very similar, right? You know what I mean? They all kind of feel the same. But, for whatever reason, I saw the trailer for this one and I thought, I don't know, I kind of wanna see that story. So I'm really interested to hear what you thought of it, Price.
Well, let's pull up. I'm always curious, even though I never trust this site, but even to know what the shows or whatever. Interestingly, the mainstream critics are usually like 100% supportive of Wes Anderson. It's a fresh score, apparently, with a 78. But honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it's not higher because of how much the critics love Wes Anderson. They absolutely adore him. Let's see, top critics. I'm trying to see where I can find the top critics score. Okay. So top critics 78, all critics 78. Interesting. I would have expected them to give him a higher grade. And the audience gave it, let's say, a 72%, which seems decent. Here's what I think. I think that early on in his career, he had some movies like The Royal Tenenbaums, and he had maybe The Fantastic Mr. Fox. And at the time, he made things that were quirky, but I think that they were quirky yet approachable. He had his little bit of his own stylish thing that he did, but I think that the movies were a little more approachable. With every movie, in my opinion, that this guy makes, he becomes, and this is my opinion, more kind of snooty and trying to be overly artsy in a way that I think that at some point starts to annoy me. I like you said, I saw the trailer for this and I thought to myself, maybe this one is going to be a good one. I like Benicio del Toro.
Mhm.
Benicio del Toro, I always like him because I like what he did in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is a movie that I really like. I think he's really good in it. And generally speaking, he's a pleasant actor and he's quirky, so it could be a good fit for whatever Wes Anderson is doing. A lot of
Sure,
other great actors in this movie.
sure,
You have Benedict Cumberbatch. You have in very small roles. I mean, I don't love Tom Hanks, but he's not the worst actor. Same with Bryan Cranston. On a personal level, I know that people don't love them, and I can understand why, because of all their overly political positions and things like that. But let's just say that uh, they're fine when you see them. It's like every scene. There's Scarlett Johansson in a small role. Like every scene you see in this movie, there's some known actor. And I don't have a problem with that. There's certainly a fantastic cast. I feel like a lot of these people probably do it for very cheap. A lot of these artists, these actors, they do it on the cheap. So many actors just want to be involved in a production like this. They probably sit around, their agent calls them and he says like, we got a script from Wes Anderson, and automatically they don't even need to read it. They're just like, yes, we'll do it. Do you need to know what the role is? No, do it. Say yes, say I'll do it. I feel like maybe they read the script and they don't even understand what the movie is and they'll still do it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's how excited, because he has this kind of artsy, reputation. But with all of that being said, I went to see this movie and I thought maybe this one will be a little cooler because I liked what I saw in the trailer. And I will say it, it doesn't. It's not what I hoped it would be. I thought perhaps it would be artsy and a little more approachable, and instead it's artsy fartsy. It's sure he has his own style. I give him credit. He has his own style, and his own visual style and his own kind of Wes Anderson vibe that he gives his movies. And I don't think that it's nothing that a guy has his own kind of style. But at the same time, man, they always talk, the actors in his movie, not like real people talk. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, "Oh, well, what did you do here? I did this. Oh, what did you do this? Oh, what did you do this?" Like they have this weird like rhythm of the way they talk, and I assume that that's what he wants. And for me, the more I look at it, the more it kind of annoys me. Like they act not natural at all. They all act like kind of, I don't even want to say caricatures, because if they were caricatures, it would actually be better. It's whatever is less than caricatures. And in this movie, unfortunately, that's what the situation is. There's an interesting story here, and there's a great cast. It's about a businessman who basically, I mean, this is happening like, I think in the 60s. I don't know. It's happening a long time ago. And it's a businessman that he basically is kind of like like a shyster of sorts. Like he goes to place, does all these deals, backstabs people. But now there's sort of like another group of business people trying to destroy his projects, and there's sort of a deficit in money that he's not able to pay for what he needs to pay. And he goes to all these people he does business with, and he's basically asking them for money to cover this gap, this deficit. And in the meantime, there's also something with his daughter, which he reconnects with, and that she's going to be his heir to this empire. Something about like, her mother, who killed her mother. A lot of really interesting ideas, and I don't mind quirky. I don't mind when something kind of is offbeat. I like all of that stuff. And yet still watching this movie, I just thought to myself, this is too much. This crosses the line from being artsy to just being annoying. And it saddens me because there is value here. It's not shit. Sorry, Sean. It's not a shit movie. There is an artist with a real, like, an auteur with a vision and all that stuff. But for me, I think that he's too busy kind of like sniffing his own farts, and it would be nice if he could get out of his way a bit.
Yes. I know what you mean. Maybe
So
maybe get out of his way a little bit and not be stuck so much in sort of the formulaic Wes Anderson thing and really focus a little bit more on making a more solid story with some more solid characters in it than just being this quirky, weird film that he tends to make.
I see. And Amy S says it was actually Star Trek Wrath of Khan. I wanted to find that scene. It was between Kirk and Spock. I don't
Ah,
remember that, but I did remember the Next Generation had a very blunt scene like that. I'm not saying that, Wrath of Khan could be that there was a scene that they did something or said something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one. Professor, you're the Star Trek expert. Was there a scene kind of like that in Wrath of Khan?
hmm. Trying to remember. Remember a scene somewhat like that in the motion picture. Um, but the scene a scene from Wrath of Khan. Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm not putting it together other than when they go to talk about what the Genesis device is, where they have kind of an aside when they step aside and talk about what that is and kind of argue out of the view of the rest of the crew. But yeah,
People are talking about Rushmore and The Life Aquatic. I thought Rushmore was okay.
both enjoyable. Yeah.
The Life Aquatic is where I already started getting annoyed because I really like Bill Murray and I was so excited to see the movie. And somehow I watched it and I wasn't excited. And really, I know some people will get annoyed at me, but the movie bored me. I sat there and I was bored. And I don't know. There's two things that happen. Sometimes I get bored, and sometimes it's like my brain wants to reject what I'm looking at. Like the way they speak to each other and the dialogue, the way it's written, and the sort of it's like he's too smart for his own good. I don't really know how to explain it. It's not that I'm not smart enough to understand what he's doing. It's just that I think he's annoying sometimes. I'm sorry, I sound like a douche, but
No,
that's what I think.
no, it's fine.
Anyhow, a scene with what happening?
Yeah, so it was. I'm just trying to think of what the scene is that Amy S was talking about, with
Yeah, and Barbara Lawrence
officers
says Wes Anderson has
talking.
become a parody of himself. I
Yeah,
tend to agree. I think that so many
unfortunately.
people have been memeing and talking about his quirkiness that now he wants to show everybody that he could be even quirkier than they thought he was. It's like, dude, we know you're quirky. You don't need to do more of that. You know, if anything, try to make your movie a little more grounded. Maybe ask them to perform in a way that seems a little more plausible. People acting not like people. Maybe some people enjoy watching that. I don't love it. If I had to say, like, I feel like he probably liked French impressionism and things like that. I don't know what
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
film noir is like, all this avant-garde French stuff. I feel like he probably watched all this stuff back in the day, like while studying film.
Oh,
A lot of
sure.
different
Yeah.
genres that are kind of, older stuff, and he wants to recreate that vibe in a modern film, but sometimes that vibe can't easily be recreated.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're talking about with the influences of some of these different film styles.
Right.
Older, sort of
Pro-
more art centric film styles. Really,
I mean,
yeah.
I can appreciate something being artsy, and especially if it's like, okay, I want to make one movie like this, but all of his movies go for that style. You know, maybe some people, maybe there's a target audience for it, but the movie cost $30 million to make. I'll be curious to see how much it'll make at the box office. Caleb Levine says, speaking of fart sniffers, Jake Gyllenhaal is just the dark-eyed version of Ryan Gosling. I tend to agree. I'm not a huge fan of either of these guys. They're both, when I see them in a movie, I think they're like serviceable enough actors, but I don't think that they're anything beyond that. I don't go out of my way. Like if I'm like, hey, I want to watch a movie, and I say, who's the star of the movie, and somebody says Denzel Washington, I'll be like, okay, what's the movie? Let me hear more about that. And if like it's a movie that I don't know, it sounds like something weird, and I'm like, who's the star of it? And they'll say Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm not going to be as excited. Same with Ryan Gosling. These aren't actors. In those cases, it would have to be a movie that I already am excited about, or somehow the movie, the concept or the idea speaks to me, and I'm willing to watch it even though it has these actors in it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. It would need to be it would need to be, yeah, yeah. A film that you're really interested in, looks really good, that happens to have those actors in it. Those actors are not going to be a draw for me to come see their film, right? I'm
Right.
I'm not going out of my way to go see a Jake Gyllenhaal film or a Ryan Gosling film, either one. If it's if the movie looks really good and it's something I really want to see, then yeah, I get it. But that's well, for instance, there's a version of a really good book that they're making a movie out of for I think maybe it's not due till 2027. I have to go look it up. It's called Project Hail Mary. It's by the same guy that did The Martian. Uh, Really good book. Nice, fun, interesting science fiction book. And they are making a movie out of that. And Ryan Gosling is going to be the star in it. Not the guy I would have picked to star in the film, but I will still go see that film because it's got Ryan Gosling in it. Right. Uh, I'm still interested in going to go see it. He's not going to be a he's not going to be what turns me off of seeing that, I guess is what I would
No,
say.
it's not enough. Like I don't see Ryan Gosling and then don't want to see a movie because he's in it. But I also think that he doesn't have that extra quality that for me makes me really want to see him in a movie. I think that what he has and maybe Jake Gyllenhaal has, those are actors that some ladies like. I've met ladies that are like, oh, we like that guy. But I am not a lady, so I don't share that enthusiasm. And unfortunately, see, since I'm not a lady, what I would really like is if the actor has kind of a lot of charisma, and people are like, "You don't think Ryan Gosling has charisma?" And the truth is, I don't. I don't think he's not like full of energy. He feels very subdued usually. There was a movie that the Russo brothers made called The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling, and it's about him. It's such a generic action movie, and he doesn't do anything to like uplift it. He is the most kind of mid-level action star. There's something just so drowsy about his performance there. It is what
Yeah.
it is, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Istophobo says every real genius I've even known or heard eventually went a bit crazy. It's the price of genius, which is by nature is self-consuming and is incessant. Yes, I mean I could say that about myself, Istophobos. It's not the price of genius; it's the price of reason.
The price.
No, but I will say this. Okay, I'm not an Elon Musk type of genius. Okay, that's not the level we're talking about. But I'm saying that I am not. I consider I sound like Forrest Gump. I'm not a stupid man. No, he says he is a
No,
stupid
I'm
man.
not. He says I'm not a smart man.
Not a smart man. Yeah, no, what I was gonna say was, I would say that in my younger years, I was considered rather smart. Maybe now it's already kind of like, disintegrated, but back in the day, I was considered smart, in my younger years, and, I think that especially in my 20s, there was a moment in time that I think that that went to my head. I felt that like I could do no wrong and everything I do is great. And I had situations where I don't know if to say I was like Elon Musk, but I think that I kind of maybe I was too arrogant and too full of myself and too overconfident and just saying whatever with no filter and doing stuff. I had some moments like that when I was younger, and obviously I matured and now I'm like more of a grown man and I don't act that way. And Elon at his age, which I believe he's older than me, I think that that's not a good age to do that. And Trump is certainly older than me. so so really I think that both of them should not be acting like kids, but I don't know how we got there again. Uh it's pretty rare to enjoy every movie of your favorite directors. He's not my favorite director, but I do think that earlier on in his career, he was trying to at least make movies that were more accessible. And at some point, it's almost like he's making the movie just for himself. And you could say, well, he's an artist; he doesn't want to compromise, and that's fine. But when you're making it so much for yourself and not taking into consideration that maybe people have to watch it, you're also kind of alienating potential viewers at some point.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, and
so
when you're talking about your favorite, favorite directors, yeah, and I don't think there's anybody who's ever just that's batted 1,000 as far as a director, right? Everybody has some movies that are missteps. I mean, even people that love Steven Spielberg, right? He's had films that didn't work as well. Martin Scorsese, he's had ones, maybe not flops, but not hits, not masterpieces. Alfred Hitchcock, one of the most incredible directors ever. He had plenty of movies that didn't quite work or weren't really up to the
most of
quality
them
of
are
some of the
pretty
best
darn
that
good,
he's ever
though.
done. They
I,
really are. But
Alfred
yeah,
Hitchcock, I think, has a pretty good batting average.
he
I'm trying
does.
to think, what did he make Alfred Hitchcock that like wasn't good? You know what I mean? Especially, early on, he still hadn't arrived in Hollywood. He was making these movies, some of them in black and white in England. I watched probably a lot of his older stuff, if not all of it. And yeah, I mean, when I look at his newer stuff, the one that when he got to Hollywood and had the bigger productions, obviously like those better. But I don't know. I mean, Vertigo. I don't even know if people
Oh
like
god.
Vertigo. I love Vertigo.
Oh, Vertigo's incredible. I love that film.
That's probably my
That's
favorite
one of
Hitchcock
the
movie.
it's one of the movies that got me to want to explore more of what Hitchcock was making. I love that film. It's visually just stunning, but then it has a really solid, really tense story. And then yeah, you've got a bunch of other, he has a bunch of films that, a lot of people point to Psycho as sort of being his greatest film. I don't know about that. I do like Psycho. I don't.
I
It's
actually
not
don't
one of
think
my
that at all.
favorites. It's not one
I
of my
am not that
favorites.
excited about Psycho. I
Uh,
understand that when he made Psycho, he was doing something that people weren't doing, and within the context of film history, when you look at his movie there and what he accomplished, it's very, very you respectable. It's very admirable. But as far as when it comes to when you zoom out and kind of look at his catalog of movies, his filmography, I actually think that Psycho, that's not one that I sit around and wanna rewatch. Like, you watch it once, it's not one that I wanna sit around and watch over and over again. Whereas, like, Vertigo, I love that.
yeah.
Rear Window,
Oh,
uh,
Rear Window, North by
North
Northwest.
by Northwest. That one,
Um,
unfortunately, I've only seen, like, maybe once, North by
yeah.
Northwest. I don't know why, but I did like it. And then you have, The Man Who Knew Too Much,
Man Who Knew Too Much.
The Birds.
Yeah, the birds. Yeah, that one. I get why people criticize the birds. Uh, I enjoy it. I find it very tense and really really. Some people complain that the sort of the ending of the film is just sort of it just ends, right? But that's that kind of thing happens with natural phenomenon too, right?
I
That things just a hurricane just goes away, right? And so the birds just sort of
I have
decide to stop attacking people. I mean, but yeah, I do understand why some people criticize
no,
that,
I
but
can
I do
understand.
I enjoy that movie a great deal. Yeah.
I can understand for the reasons you said why some people wouldn't like it, but I'll tell you this, uh, really amazing what Alfred Hitchcock visually pulled off then. I mean, it is such ahead of its time when it comes to the visuals of it and what he was doing there. It's one of those movies that helps define like a medium, in my
Hmm.
opinion at least. So yeah, obviously today the birds probably don't look as good, and maybe the ending and things like that. But when I look at his filmography, I give him, I have no issues with him. There's also somebody wrote Dial M for Murder. Uh,
Yeah.
Wait a second. First of all, Tim Hayes says Price of Reason Lime. I think you're probably very smart and smarter than Elon. You sell yourself way too short, man. Let me tell you this. I think that Elon technically is extremely smart, but the only thing is that combining the fact, and this is by his own admission, he's on the spectrum in some way, and he's eccentric, and he kind of is not his mind operates differently, let's say, than the way a more non-spectrum person's mind operates. And I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying that that's just the situation. And I don't have that kind of eccentric thing. Also, he is very smart. I think that like he maybe his behavior is eccentric and there's a spectrum situation, but I think that there's certain logic and things that he has that are very he I can't say that he's stupid, you know what I'm saying? And I'm
Yeah.
certainly not smarter than him, but there's different kinds of smarts. There's maybe uh, an IQ smart, and there's also maybe emotional intelligence or just reading a certain situation. So maybe he has deficiencies in certain aspects of his personality, but I wouldn't say that he's stupid. And I'm certainly, if I was smarter than him, then I'd be sitting now like, I'd have I don't wanna say it because everybody always says, "Why do you want your own island?" I'd have my own island. I think having an island is cool, but I don't need all the celebrities and weird people there, I don't need it could just be me and a few people that, like, we all agreed to be there, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like, the idea of owning your own island isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, unless you want to designate the island for suspicious activities. uh
It's just about wanting somewhere to go to be in private, right? We You just you wanna get away from the paparazzi. That's why you need your own island.
and right, exactly. And Tim Hayes was like saying, "Oh, you hate." I didn't say I hate Psycho. I'm saying that I think Psycho is brilliant for its time, groundbreaking, very important movie. The only thing that I was saying about Psycho is that when it comes to rewatchability and these kind of movies that I think of how much I like them of Alfred Hitchcock, that's not at the top of my list. There was also one with Sean Connery. It's called Marnie, I think.
Marnie.
That's an interesting one, although
Yes.
there's something very controversial that happens in that movie that probably wouldn't fly today.
Mhm.
Uh, it's implied that some grapes were
There was some
served.
grapes that were yes. Yeah.
Very, very risque things going on there. I'm surprised they kind of let that slide. Even then, I'm surprised they let it slide. Probably today, I don't know what people would say about it. That's probably why you never hear about that one.
Yeah, it's not as popular as
I
some
kind
of
of
his
liked
lesser
it,
known
actually.
ones.
I mean,
It is,
yes,
it's a good one. It's been
you
quite
know,
some
I,
time
I,
since
I
I've seen Marnie, but it was an enjoyable one, yeah.
I think that they probably could have done without the serving of the grape scene in there,
Mhm.
even though it's kind of hinted at and it's not as graphic, but still, I don't know that it absolutely needed to be in that movie, if you know what I mean.
Mhm. Yeah, he does have a lot of fantastic films. Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt. But yeah, he's Hitchcock had a few here and there, maybe especially earlier on in his career that maybe weren't quite up to the quality of some of the other things he's made. But yeah,
What was?
he's got some great
I'm already
films.
forgetting the name of it. What was the? Shoot, I can't even remember the name of this crappy movie. What was the one that I just saw with Adrian Brody?
With
That it,
Adrian Brody, The Brutalist.
the Brutalist. Yes, okay. That movie until now annoys me. That movie is see, the thing is that a lot of times these days you have like bait and switches where you want to go watch a movie and then you think you're watching, let's say, a Star Wars movie, but then it's a bunch of women barking at men and men being made to look stupid. Uh, so that's a bait and switch that you thought you were going to see a movie and you got something else and like some weird propaganda. Now, the thing with the Brutalist, the thing that annoys me so much, and I don't know why I just thought of it, the thing that because of the grapes. The thing that annoys me about that movie is that probably for 2 hours, it's like 3 hours. For 2 hours, I thought to myself, wow, this is a really well made movie, really competent, great acting, interesting writing, really interested to see where it all goes. And you think you know what kind of movie you're watching. And then in the final hour, it is such an annoying piece of shit, sorry, Sean movie. And I could never forgive. It's like a bait and switch in the middle of your movie. You watch for 2 hours and then somebody like takes a dump on you as you're watching that crappy movie. It is unacceptable, that movie. There is like a scene where somebody serves grapes, and I can't tell you how much I'm annoyed by that scene. It is the most annoying scene where somebody served anybody grapes just because I sat there 2 hours really thinking that this is going to be a good movie, and then you understand that like you've been taken for a ride. I don't recommend that movie to anybody.
But it won Oscars.
It won Oscars probably because they were serving grapes. Like, if they didn't serve the grapes and they didn't end it, the way that I think I explained it to you at the time when I watched it, The Brutalist is a movie that it feels like 2 hours somebody made like a pretty decent movie, a good one even, and you're really intrigued. And then it's as if they replaced the director with Ryan Johnson and told him, okay,
Oh
you
god.
write and direct the final hour. And he's like, okay, I got you. And then it's like a Ryan Johnson movie. That's what it felt like. even though it's
That's
not the
quite the
case.
insult there.
Right, but the thing is that the guy that directed it, it's him, so I can't say that they brought in a Ryan Johnson in the middle, but it's like 2/3 into the movie, he became Ryan Johnson, and I can't forgive him for that, that he wasted 3 hours of my time and managed to annoy me the way he did.
Wow.
People don't even know what I'm talking about, they're like, "What does this guy want?" That was a movie that recently won a bunch of awards. I liked Alfred Hitchcock Presents as well, but, yeah, that was a pretty good show. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, they'd show these black and white things of him talking. I watched the one they did in the '80s. I think there was an earlier one in the '60s.
Good evening.
Right, but it was weird that in the '80s they brought him to talk, but then they showed, like, a new episode. It was so and they colorized him. It was so weird. I haven't watched Did you watch the original Alfred Hitchcock Presents or
Oh,
only
yeah.
the
No, I watched the original, the black and white.
I haven't. I'm only familiar
Yeah.
with the '80s one. Anyhow, uh I've only watched the first season of it. I wonder without looking it up if it would be easy to tell which episode he directed and what show they're talking about.
Oh, Hitchcock Presents. Yeah.
Oh,
He did direct some of the episodes.
I see.
He was the
That's
he was the host of each of the episodes, but then there were some stories that were directed by him. Yeah.
uh Tim Hayes says that's not unusually Billy Joel was married to Christy Brinkley. Is this a case where there's a woman that looks really hot and she's married to a guy who's not so hot? Because that's the only thing that I could think of that somebody would bring this up. I don't even know how we got to talking about this. But what I will say is this: is that Billy Joel, his best years was, I think, when he's with Christy Brinkley. I know everybody loves like '70s Billy Joel. I'm like in that movie. There's a movie that makes fun of it. Everybody loves like '70s Billy Joel, but I kind of get annoyed by '70s Billy Joel. But I'm different. I get annoyed in general by Billy Joel. I think that only there was an album in the '80s, the one that he like had just started dating Christy Brinkley, the one with like For the Longest Time and Uptown Girl.
Yeah.
That's probably the album that I like the most. The one that I could tolerate the most from Billy Joel is there, and anything else I probably like. I used to listen to radio a lot, and if there was a Billy Joel song, I'd automatically change the channel. Except for if it's maybe a few of the tolerable ones. Same thing with Phil Collins. I'd often change the channel. Phil Collins slash Genesis. I will say that there's songs of theirs and of his that I like, but there's also a bunch that I simply can't listen to. So I would
Oh,
find
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, he gets a lot of his stuff that's very, very pop, sort of oriented stuff. Yeah, I think the one that you're talking about is An Innocent Man. That was early 80s.
That was
Um,
probably his best album
An
for
Innocent
me.
Man, yeah.
Uh,
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed River of Dreams. That one came out, early 90s.
is that one in the middle of the night?
Yes,
Something
yeah,
like
that's
that.
that's
That
the
one.
title song. He had 4 or 5 other pretty solid songs on
I
that
had that
album, though.
CD. I actually had the CD, and I thought, "Oh, that song is pretty okay," but you know what? I didn't find myself listening to it a lot. I
Yeah.
tried, couldn't get into it. The Innocent Man one is the only one that I feel like, that was an album that I genuinely enjoyed, and that's probably where like, me enjoying his music starts and ends. Phil Collins, the thing with Phil Collins is I think he's a really talented musician. I don't hate everything he's done, but man, somewhere in the '80s, in like 1980, it's as if he got up one morning and said, "I'm going to make a whole lot of money." And all of his stuff became so cheesy. You still have very early on in the '80s, you have like "In the Air Tonight," which is a good song, and even Genesis, when they went more poppy, there's like the song "That's All." There's a few songs that aren't bad, but once like all that "Invisible Touch" and like "Another Day in Paradise" and all that stuff, he really, really went hard into the marketable pop music in a way that was over the top. And when you listen to early Genesis, like the early albums and what they did in the '70s when Peter Gabriel was there, I mean, that's a lot more quality, in my opinion. That's like real quality music. And as they lost their members and it became more of a Phil Collins showcase, just a bit too cheesy for my taste at times.
So tell me, Price, do you prefer Simon and Garfunkel or just Paul Simon on his own?
Simon and Garfunkel are much, in my opinion, much better than Paul Simon on his own. Paul Simon on his own is not terrible. I'm not saying that he's not a decent musician, and here and there maybe he has a song that I'm okay with. But Simon and Garfunkel, like on their day, like A Bridge Under Troubled Water, which is a good album. Every song is like like a home run there.
Yeah.
That's like them in their prime. Maybe they bickered all the time, but you know what? Sometimes this is like what we're talking about Elon Musk and Trump. Sometimes two people that are very different and working together towards some common goal can actually produce a good result. And I think that Simon and Garfunkel are a good example for that. I don't think that separately they're better than they are if they're alone. I know Garfunkel doesn't really do much when
Yeah.
Paul Simon isn't there,
Yeah.
but I still don't think, even though he doesn't do much, I still think that Simon is better with Garfunkel. What am I going to do?
Well, that's the correct answer, Price. So we can stay friends at least.
It's the obvious answer. I mean, the thing with Paul Simon is he has like "You Can Call Me Al." That's more of a gimmicky song.
Yeah, yeah, a
Uh,
lot of the stuff that he did was very gimmicky. I'm not saying he didn't have any songs that were decent while he was on his own. He did have you know, what is it? Mother and Child, Me and Julio, um, Graceland, Call Me Al. I mean, he had a few hits here and there, but for the most part, it was very limited as far as the stuff that he did
f-
on his own. That was
50
really
ways to
just
50
yeah,
ways to leave
50
your
Ways to
lover
Leave Your
annoys me.
Lover.
That annoys
Yeah,
me.
you don't
Uh,
like that one?
no, I don't like it. There was also the album he went to Africa that then they said that he took advantage of Africans or something. I don't know what that was, but there was like one song that I didn't mind from that album, and I had the album, and I really wanted it to be good. There was like one song that I liked on it, and the rest like kind of I don't know, man. It's sometimes you need some other energy to balance you out. Whatever Garfunkel did was good. You know,
Mhm.
I'll give you another example because we're talking about Elon and Trump. It's the same with like the Beatles and John and Paul. Uh,
Oh, very true. Very
I
true.
the best thing that happened is that when they worked together. Now, in the early days, they used to write actually their songs, sit in the same room, write them together. Over the years, it became more that each one would write, show the other because they had a partnership show the other. And even today, when you hear like Paul McCartney talk about like some of his songs that he considered quote unquote his big hits that he wrote, he'll suddenly say, you know what? I played this for John and I thought of changing this and doing this and I wanted to do that. And I had some idea. And John said, like, no, you got to do this, this, and this. And the second I heard him say it, I knew he was right and I did what he said. You know what I mean? And there were vice versa
Yeah.
situations, even when they were like at each other's throats, this kind of mutual respect and listening to each other and sometimes pulling and pushing in different directions to try to bring out the best result, even when it's like one that supposedly he wrote and the other guy is just sort of supporting him. Still, really interesting stories. And I think that once the Beatles broke up, I don't think that Paul McCartney or John Lennon did something better than they did when they were in the Beatles.
No. There's absolutely nothing Wings ever performed that was any better than what the Beatles had had done.
Right. I mean, Wings what wasn't that great, like Band on the Run and all this like I love you and whatever, like really kind of annoying stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's musically, it's not that it's not well done musically or well produced or all that stuff, but it's just it's very much like songs of its day and moment, and to me they don't really feel as timeless. I don't find myself listening to his Wings thing. Yeah, maybe in the 80s there were a few things. I thought that, let's say, the song "Say Say Say" with Michael Jackson was good. Again, it helped that you had Michael Jackson with you on the song. Like,
Yes.
what I would say about Paul McCartney is that he was probably the biggest musical genius on paper in the Beatles. But the problem is that John Lennon brought this kind of unexpected, approach because maybe he wasn't as like fancy as Paul in some of the things that he did, but he was still a good musician. His instincts were usually to just do stuff that was like not as standard. And I think that this idea of like somebody that's more by the book, like Paul McCartney, together with John, who was trying all these experimentations and really trying to do different things, and he had kind of a very different approach. This is what made that band so good. The cooperation of these two guys who actually had like a different philosophy, but also kind of this synergy of working together. And and when he went alone, John, he went more for that kind of offbeat, like doing his own thing, kind of. And Paul went to do his more cheesy commercial stuff. And alone, they're not as good as they are together, hands down.
Nope. Nope.
George Harrison is the only one that I'll say that. I mean, he's very strange because
Mhm.
he in the Beatles, they didn't let him do a lot, but I think he was very talented. And immediately when he left the Beatles, I think that his solo material initially was pretty darn good. It's just that he took so many years break between album and album, and then really didn't. He did some stuff, but I don't know. You would have expected him to release more albums and be more prolific than he was. But George Harrison was a talent as well, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, he was. Absolutely.
Uh, Phantom Outsider says also Ebony and Ivory when you add in Stevie Wonder. The thing with Ebony and Ivory is that that's another case. Exactly. Paul McCartney is kind of like, not generic, but kind of cheesy. And he Stevie Wonder brings the cool factor. You have Stevie Wonder sitting there, already the song becomes better. Some people, it helps to have a guy that's a bit cooler, hanging out with you. That's just
Mhm.
my opinion, of
Yeah.
course.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know how we got to the.
No. Yeah, it's fine. Get there
Uh,
one way or another.
yeah. Did
But
I look at the one Dirty
yeah,
Bird sent the $2 Rumble rant, and now
$2
we're
Rumble
behind
Rant.
again on the feud. Just remember, Trump and Musk are both master trolls. Yes, I guess we're seeing that play
Very,
out live.
very true. Yeah. Yeah, trying to out troll each other, perhaps. A little bit of that going on.
But you know what I found an interesting. I know we're meandering, but after all that intense Trump and Elon thing, it's a nice like palate cleanser. Uh, what I learned this week that I thought was pretty cool. Did you ever hear of the band the Traveling Wilburys?
I'm afraid I have not.
Okay, so basically that was a group that had in the 80s that had here I'll share this instead. It had Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, George Harrison, and Jim Keltner on drums. So basically, this was like a super group. And I just learned this week the story of
Okay.
how they started recording together, and I thought it was rather funny. Basically, George Harrison in the 80s, he had the album Cloud Nine, and he at the time, I guess they still released, singles, yeah, like on a record or on a cassette that they still release singles there, like 45s or whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
So basically, what happened was is that the record label told George Harrison, "You want to release this single, you got to record something like a B side, because that was a thing. Today, you don't really have B sides. Nobody really thinks that way. But at the time, you had a record, you put out a little single, and somebody's going to want to flip that record over. So you want to put something on the other side." And it's always nice. What usually bands did is if they had a song that was like an outtake from an album or something that they recorded in like 5 minutes, they would throw that in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So basically, the label said, George, will release your single. You have to put together a song. Give us something to put on the other side. So he said, no problem. I'm going to quickly record a song, and I'm going to give you a song to be on the B side. So he goes to dinner with Jeff Lynne, who invites Roy Orbison. And he tells Jeff Lynne, maybe you want to come out and hang out with me tomorrow. We're going to record this song. I need to quickly record in one day a song. It'll just be a crappy song that we're going to do like a B-side to that other song that we're releasing. So he's like, okay. And then Roy Orbison is there and he's like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I can come see what you're doing. They're like, great. Why don't you do that? That's awesome. And then at this point, George Harrison, I guess he told Jeff Lynne, you know what? I don't know if he's actually going to want to sing anything. I'll try to come up with a little line. Maybe he'll agree to sing something. Who knows? You know what I mean? So he thinks of a little line for him. The next day they need to record somewhere, but they're in a jam. So they need to find a studio, but they can't find one that they like trust on short notice, whatever it is. They call Bob Dylan, who has his own studio, and they're like, "Hey, can we come to your studio?" And he's like, "Sure. Why don't you come over?" And then I guess he wanted to hang out with him too. So then George Harrison remembers that he left his guitar at Tom Petty's place. So he goes to Tom Petty's to pick up his guitar, and Tom Petty is there, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to Bob Dylan with like Roy Orbison and Jeff Lynne. Why don't you join us?" And he's like, "Cool. Why don't I go there?" And then I don't know where they scraped like I think initially the drummer wasn't there. They used like a drum machine initially, and basically they wanted to record this song in one day. And they sat there in one day, quickly recorded some track. I think Jeff Lynne then maybe did a little bit of mixing on his own, wrapped this thing up. Are you still with me, Professor?
Yeah.
So they recorded this song, all of them together. George Harrison goes back to, I don't know if it was Warner or whatever, whatever label it was. He goes to them and he goes, "Okay, here it is. Here's the song. This is the B-side to my single." And they play it, and they're like, "What is this?" And he's like, they said, "Is this, this sounds like," maybe they recognized Roy Orbison or one of those. They're like, what's going on here?" He's like, "Yeah, it's Roy Orbison, it's Bob Dylan, it's Tom Petty, it's Jeff Lynne, and me, and like we recorded the song. Just put it on your B-side." And they're like, "Okay." They're like, "We wanted you to give us some crappy song. We're not going to put this thing as the B-side. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to bring all these people. It'll be a B-side. Like, no way." So, like, a B-side that's not what you do with a B-side. So they basically rejected it, but it was too good. So then he said, "Okay, I have a different idea." He goes back to all these guys and he's like, "Hey, why don't we take a week now?" I think they took like a week or 9 days or something like that. "Let's just hang out when our schedules allow for it, and let's record a bunch of songs, and we'll release an album." And then like they ended up releasing this album, ironing it all out with the different record labels because they were all on different labels, releasing it, becomes a huge smash hit, like sold, I don't know what, like 8 million copies or something like that. All these guys weren't exactly like 20 years old here, you know what I mean?
No,
Even
no.
then.
Not
So
young, not young spring chickens.
yeah, so I just thought that was interesting that the way that this came together is because he wanted to give him a crappy song, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, we just need some filler.
right, they wanted filler, and he gave them like a song like with all these people on it. That's
Yeah.
like that's the opposite of filler.
Filler with all of with Roy Orbison and Bob Dylan and Tom Petty and George Harrison.
Yeah, and End of the Line was a fabulous send off for Roy Orbison. Really, the one good thing that came out of it is Roy Orbison managed to go out on top because 2 months after this thing, was recorded and oh sorry was released, he passed away like very suddenly. So basically, he still got a chance to see that this thing succeeded, and he was very excited about it. But beyond that, the first video that they recorded, they had him in it, and the second video, which he planned like the next week to join them to record, he never ended up recording. So in the video, they actually have like a rocking chair with his guitar on it and a little picture of him, and you still hear his voice singing his lines, which is really nice. But yeah, End of the Line is a fabulous send off for Roy Orbison. But what people say is that at least Roy Orbison knew the thing was super successful, meaning he left this world at a young age knowing that this thing was like a slam dunk. So at least that, because sometimes these artists, they have ups and downs in their careers. Roy Orbison, it's not that like 5 minutes earlier he had like hit songs. Bob Dylan was kind of in a slump. Tom Petty released an album that didn't do as well as he wanted. So, like, it was sort of a big comeback for everybody involved.
All
And
right.
Mark Kernke says, buy a lot more ammo. Okay, that's some good advice. Can the drummer get some? Get some what? I'm sure that the drummer benefited from being here. I actually, from what I remember, initially they recorded with like a drum machine the first song, and then they actually wanted to replace like the drum machine beat with a real drummer. So they brought this Jim Keltner guy, and then I guess they kind of liked his drums, or they already knew him, they liked what he was doing, and they're just like, all right, let's just add him. So he was the person that probably benefited the most here. Anyhow, I don't
Yep.
know how do we get to
No,
talking about that,
I
Professor?
don't know. I were just talking about stuff. Do we have some other topics we wanted to cover before we wrapped it up today? We've talked about your review for the Phoenician scheme. We got into Musk and Trump's little middle school tiff, whatever, trolling fight, whatever it is.
Right.
Um,
Okay, okay. So I saw something that Endymion was saying today. People were sharing this that I guess he got some sort of secret documents from Ubisoft.
oh yeah, there's been more than a few of these game studios recently. Um,
That now they're like they're
that
more
have been
secret. They're more secret
yeah,
about
yeah. They're being a lot more secret about it, but they're still out there, and it's not just Ubisoft. But yeah, I know what you're talking about here. I can
if you could
share.
find it, yeah,
I think I can share
I'll tell jokes. uh,
because I
so
think I had
yeah,
this open
so I
earlier.
think that what's interesting is that they just recently did something where they seem to like men's mental health or whatever it is, but now it seems like other things are going on.
Yeah, so this is the tweet from Endymion. Just got sent this from an Ubisoft insider. They're still pushing Pride Month internally, and allegedly, Ubisoft still hasn't shown any internal help or posts about Men's Health Awareness Month. If true, this sucks, but do with this what you will. So was that Rainbow Six Siege post the extent of their support? So yeah, we gotta know. June is Pride Month. Woohoo! And we had time to celebrate the achievements of 2S LGBTQIA plus MOUSE community, advocate for equal rights, and honor the history, resilience, and diversity of two spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, and other diverse gender and sexual identity individuals around the world. Yeah, you know what? I still say, Price, you don't need a month for this. Um, we only get a day. Uh, we only set aside a day to honor fallen, military veterans, people who have died for our freedoms. We get a day to celebrate those who are currently serving in our military to thank them, for their sacrifice of that they've put into to serving our country. Our presidents only get a day, right? I don't think that we need an entire freaking month to celebrate people who have different sexual preferences. I'm sorry. It's not really necessary. But yes, of course. Oh, it's so important that we have allyship. So many countries have rolled back legal rights and protections. Actually, no, they all still have the exact same rights that everyone else does. They just don't have special protections for them. Things that are special, exceptional about these particular people. Oh, Istafobos, don't give out your password like that. That's not safe. Uh, allyship isn't a passive label, it's an active commitment, people. So you need to make sure that you're doing all these things. Respect your pronouns. Not going to happen. Share your pronouns when you meet new colleagues. Also, not going to happen. Join Ubi Proud. You got to join special groups now to show that you are, particularly, supportive of somebody, and then learn how to better support your transgender colleagues. No, um, that's fine. Uh, so yeah, they're not the only ones either. There's been more than a few other organizations that have been pushing a lot of pride stuff over the last week. We also had not just Ubisoft, but let's see. We also saw there were some things coming in from Square Enix, also talking about pride and this and that and whatever. And one of the latest ones that's just really come up in recent days has been with the introduction of the Switch 2. Yes, the Switch 2 that came out today, and people have started to notice that there's something interesting
Is that the
when you.
staple that they're stapling the screen?
Oh, that was pretty funny. We could talk about that, but no, I was specifically talking about the LGBTQIA2 plus MOUSE whatever stuff. Um, they it when you I tried to share a different screen and it didn't work. Let's try again. There we go. So, as the Switch 2 is launched, when you go in to create a Me, a lot of people know what these are. These are little characters that you can go in, create little avatars that you can create for yourself. These have been around since the Wii, so you probably remember these. But now they no longer have a gender pronoun assigned to each of these. They're no There's no longer he, she, male, female, whatever. There's just two different body types for you to pick from when you go in to create your Miis. So it's not just Ubisoft, which of course, being a Western company, has a lot of people in it, and of course we've heard stories about how Ubisoft has a lot of people in in their company who are uh, activists. Let's just say activists.
Absolutely.
We know that there's a lot of those that are in that particular business, and a lot of Western developers, have those activists in there as well. But we also know that there's other companies, like I said, Square Enix is one, and there's been a few others as well that have recently been spending some time talking about. Let's see if here's another one. Here. Yeah, so Square Enix talking about Pride, and Cloud Imperium Games, another company that's been talking about this stuff as well. So yeah, not everybody's gotten the message yet that we're done with this stuff, and obviously there's going to be plenty of activists out there who still want all of this stuff to be front and center, and want to take up an entire month of material, an entire month to talk about this stuff. But all we can do is ignore it,
What
and
about
I
the
think a lot of people are. Right?
I think so. Relatively speaking, compared to what we usually see with Pride Month, they seem to be a lot more quiet this time around. Uh, you see occasionally some company or somebody saying something, but it's not like what we've seen in recent years. I feel like almost every company is really, really toning this down. Uh, it didn't happen overnight. I honestly think that ever since the Bud Light situation and the Target situation, I think that it caused companies to sort of rethink their strategy when it comes to this stuff. I don't think that they're any less like woke or whatever it is, uh, but at least with the activists working in there. But I think that they're more careful. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these companies, these CEOs, whatever, they don't care about any of that stuff. They thought it was good that they were pandering to somebody or maybe doing some stuff that'll get them credits and tax credits and things like that. But once it seems to harm their company more than it does something good, I think that they're all very careful. Except for
Yeah,
Ubisoft, I guess.
yeah. Once they realize that actually it's harming their company more than it's helping, I think that there are the, here's the thing. A lot of these developers, these Eastern developers over in Japan and stuff like that, they're only just now starting to really uh, see a lot of the people starting to tell them, oh, you've got to do this and be inclusive in that and whatever. So it's taken a while for some of this to sink in with those developers over there. Whereas it's been, taking over a lot of the Western developers. So I think some of these companies are only just now really thinking that they've got to change the way they're doing things or promote pride or whatever. And so, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to deal with some of that working its way through in the next few years. But it is what it is. Um, like I said, all we can do is either just look away, or we can tell some of these companies, "Hey, we don't want this. We're not interested in this.
I think
Stop
I've
trying to
sent.
promote this."
We talked about it last time, and I know Rob Schneider recently in like a stand-up was saying that why do they give like Pride Month a full month?
Yeah,
And
I was just talking about that here a second ago while you stepped away. So yeah,
yeah, and then we talked about it also last time. And the thing is that I really think that as well. And it's fine. I think you can give them a day, but I really think that back before all the internet stuff happened, or when social media wasn't the kind of thing that it is today, I think at that time having a month to raise awareness for something that wasn't being discussed, or maybe didn't have enough awareness, I think that in those days when you did that, it made more sense. In our day and age, to say that you give anything a month, I don't care what that thing is, anything that you're like, this is the whole month going to be celebrating this, I don't see it. I think that if there's something that needs to be celebrated, I think one day. That's it.
yeah,
Commemorate it,
yeah,
celebrate, whatever that is, one day. I absolutely don't think this isn't a thing where I'm just like say, oh, you're saying it only because it's pride. No, I'm saying it. Anything you tell me that you want to do a month, I'm gonna tell you, do it a day. And of course, hopefully that's something that requires a day even, but they want to do a day of pride. Sure. I think that's fair enough. Like Women's Day, Pride Day, whatever it is. I think that's fine. Uh, I mean, listen, if they do a month of pride, then we should do a month of straight.
I
Why don't we celebrate? Why are we not sitting drinking beers all day? And why aren't there like, women in bikinis dancing around and in like festivals of us like walking around drinking like beers while like women in bikinis dance?
yeah,
Why don't we
that's
have
called Mardi Gras. Yeah,
we don't but we don't have a month, but that's like a very specific thing to a very
yeah, I
specific
know,
place.
I know, I know.
But I'm saying, yeah, no, why don't we have that everywhere? There should be a month where all dudes are in the street drinking beer and hanging out with ladies in bikinis, and we like play like rock and roll music. You know what I mean? None of that weird I don't know what people listen to these days. None of these little girls talking about crap. We bring like real rock music that feels more like, has a more like a masculine feel to it. We drink beers, hot ladies in bikinis, one whole month. You don't think we deserve that?
Sounds good to me.
So unless we get that, I don't want to hear anything about this pride thing. I don't
Yeah,
know, like nobody's celebrating with me. Why do they need such a celebration? And again, one day, sure. Maybe we can talk about a weekend. You want a
yeah,
weekend?
yeah. I'm not sure you could fit all of that, all that degeneracy in just one day.
I th- I think that listen, I don't care what people do. Honestly, they it's a free country and people should be able to do whatever they do, and if they want to celebrate it, I'm also okay with it. I'm relatively speaking, I'm a open-minded kind of like, I'm a kind of open-minded chill guy. I'm a live and let live type of guy, and that's all fine. I think that like a day or two, they want to do like a parade or celebrate. I think that that's fine. But again, I should be able to have a parade as well.
Well, but you get to have a parade every day, Price, because you are straight. So,
They
yeah.
take my straightness for granted. That's the
There
problem.
you go. That's the problem. Yeah,
They take us
exactly.
for granted, Professor. Adam Gray Jeanette is it was so ridiculous. Like who is more English than Boris Karloff? She was mad at me for questioning her. I don't even know what I just clicked on. I have no idea what that means. I think that I was trying to highlight this. Tim Hayes. Then I think when I went to Modesto Junior College, Pride was all of June, but I think the first week of September became Pride Week. Yeah, I feel like what happened was maybe there was like a day of Pride, then they said it was a week, and then it turned into a month. I feel like probably there was a process. I don't know how it became a month or when.
No, and then they're gonna make it like 1 week every month. Like the first week of the month is gonna be Pride or something. Like, yeah, they just got to keep taking over as much as they
Uh,
can.
Tim Hayes says you're a very nice guy, price of reason lie, but at some point you need to put your foot down, man. Hey, I don't think that I'm not putting my foot down. In what way should I be putting my foot down more? I just said that I don't care what other people do as long as, it's not as long as it's not like a headache for me all day, as long as I don't need to hear about it all day and all night. Like we've seen, the amount of stuff like this that we've seen, forget about like Pride Month. The amount of stuff that we've seen like that, even on social media, on Twitter, for many years, like this ongoing, like just celebration of this over and all these Pride months and all this stuff, it was too much. And honestly, before the recent election, I will say this: before also Elon with X and the recent election, how much did we hear about like the rainbow thing? Like I feel like 24/7, all day and all night, all I would hear about is like rainbow stuff.
Oh yeah,
Do you get
constantly,
what I'm trying to say?
constantly. Yeah.
Like I don't I never it's not that I sat around thinking that I don't wish anybody ill or anything. Like I don't care what people do with their own time and all that stuff in private and all that. Not my concern. It's just like, how did it become a thing that we keep talking about it all day and all night? And that's certainly like became the conversation, considering the amount of people in that group in public and how much real estate they took in terms of like pop culture and talking about it and social media and all this bullshit. I think that was over the top. So yeah, I'm a very kind of, I don't know if to say I'm a moderate person, but I sort of am. I don't really know how to define myself, but I don't think it's a matter of putting my foot down. But I respect the comment in any case, and I respect you, Tim Hayes. Tim Hayes has a lot of, great comments. You sound a bit too open-minded. At some point, you need to put your foot down when it comes to the thing about pride. Well, I think I said it. I think that if you gave, them a day, I think that that's fine. I just don't know why it has to be like a 1 month ongoing celebration, especially in our day and age. It just feels like it's unnecessary. It's more kind of like just I don't want to use the word greedy or what word I'm looking for. Maybe it's a bit of that. Maybe it is a bit greedy. It's like people don't have to talk about you 24/7. You could be in that group, and we don't need to talk about you every second. Anyhow,
Not every second. Yep.
not not every second. Like, oh, I can't read that.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah.
I thought that was something else, and I am not going to read that. uh, I've said this before. I liked in the past, when I grew up, there was like Skittles and there was like Lucky Charms, and then if there was like there was rain, you wanted to see a rainbow, and everybody was so happy. Like nobody was thinking of anything except for that it's cool. I don't know if you remember that in your life, that there was a time that rainbows were just cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, you go back to even the 80s, and you had, Rainbow Bright and all these things. It was this fun, happy thing that you had that was something that you use for joy and happiness and all sorts of stuff. And even, for some has even religious meanings. It's, that's what it was. And now it's like it can only mean one thing, right? It can only mean one thing. And uh, what I love is they keep trying to add colors to the rainbow.
Right now, it's like
Colors and shapes and all sorts of
it's
weird
like now, yeah, completely. There's hijackers to the hijackers of the rainbow.
Yeah.
You know what? Because people like to hear lore for some reason, then I guess when I learned for the first time that what the rainbow meant, that it wasn't just a rainbow.
Yeah.
Uh, so basically, this is a true story. This we're talking about something that happened, at least 20 years ago, more. See, I don't know. I missed the part where it suddenly became that symbol for that thing. There was a moment that I guess people knew that that's what it was, but I didn't. I absolutely didn't know, and not at that point because I don't think it was as obvious to everybody. I'm trying to think when it started becoming a thing, but a few decades back, and it wasn't a thing. Okay, so I had a female friend, and we lived close to each other. It's a really long story, but she called me and said, "Listen, I need your help. There's some guy and girl that are going to be visiting me today. I'd really like it if you'd be here. Like, do me a favor." And we were cool, and I said, "Okay." She's somebody that I studied with. It's a long story. I said, "Okay, I'll come over." And I came over, and one of the people, there was a girl and a guy, and the guy, he I thought they were a couple, and maybe they sort of were or something. I don't even know. Until today, this whole thing is very strange. And the guy was talking to me, and I thought, okay, well, I'm doing the favor. You know what I mean? I stood there and talked and whatever. And as we were talking, and I thought that he was like, that was his girlfriend, and he and I are sort of on the same page. At some point, he kind of pulled up his, one of his pant things and showed me that his sock was a rainbow. This is a true story.
Okay.
And I didn't know what it meant. And he's like, "Do you see my rainbow sock?" And he said it kind of less masculine. But
Oh, the 2-hour curse. Here it is. Oh, there we go. 2 hours and 5 minutes.
so are you with me?
Single time. 2 hours and 5 minutes every time. Yep.
So basically what happened is that he's like he picks up his pant leg and says, "Do you see, like, I have my rainbow socks?" And I just looked at him and I'm like, "Cool." And then I just tried to go about my business, and he was acting really strange, and I kind of started looking. I'm like, "These guys a couple. What is wrong with this guy? What are these people?" And then, uh, you know, uh, the friend that called me over, she went to the kitchen to get something, and she's like, "Oh, can you help me with something?" And I went to the kitchen with her, and I'm like, what's going on here?" And then she's like, "Thank you for coming. These people, they wanted to have like a I don't trust them. They're kind of strange, and I think they wanted to have a threesome with me." And then, like, I'm like, "That's why you asked me here, because you think they're weird and you want me to be here?" Like, that's I thought that there was like this was more of a social situation. I was like really taken aback by this whole thing, that like the weird menage a trois. So like I'm the menage a trois buster, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Are you still with me for
Yeah, I gotcha.
in any case, uh, I'm like, "Okay," and then I go back and I'm like, I thought maybe they were into her, and I still didn't understand the whole rainbow thing. And then finally, the guy actually, came out with it. Sorry, that probably wasn't a good, pun to use, but
No,
in a
no, 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 that's fine. Came out is fine. Now whipped it out, that's different. That's a
right, no, he
totally
came out
different
with it,
thing.
but in any case, he basically sort of suggested, it seemed like he was suggesting that maybe all 4 of us would be involved in something.
Oh, good
and
lord.
and man, I put that fire out immediately. And I and then, like, I think the thing ended, they kind of said goodbye, they left. And man, I told her, couldn't you give me some, advanced knowledge? How was I supposed to know?" And then she said something, "Didn't you see that he had rainbow socks?" And I said, "I don't even understand what that means. What are these people doing here? Why did you invite me here?" She's like, "No, you saved me. It's so good you were here. I knew that, like, you were the right man for the job." I'm like, "Bro, job for what?" And then finally she explained to me that the rainbow on the socks meant that they were part of that community, which I didn't know at all what the rainbow meant until that moment. That's when I learned what the rainbow meant.
Yep, yep. Oh, we got a super chat from Istaphobos.
Here, let me highlight it.
Not super chat, Rumble Rant, sorry.
It's the Phobos. There's a new Apple TV show called Murderbot. It's what you get when you make a TV show without a heterosexual person even remotely involved in any aspect of the show. Perfect for Pride Month, 100%.
Yep. Yeah.
So
There's I have not watched the show. I have not read the books. Initially, I had seen some of these books were recommended to me on Audible, I think, and so I kind of checked out the series. I was interested. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check Wikipedia, and then like I checked Wikipedia or another site, and there was just repeated mentions of all sorts of different gay trans politics stuff in it. And I'm like, no, thanks. I don't care how interesting this might be. Like, I have no, I don't need that in my science fiction. Thank you.
no,
So I had absolutely no interest in this show from the start because I knew exactly what it was going to be. But yeah, that's so, yeah, I like, oh, yes, the wearing the earring on the right or left side, yeah.
the guy
Oh, I
wasn't
remember
wearing an
that.
earring, and I will say this, I think that, like, he tried to present himself as more, like, straight, although the reveal of the rainbow sock was supposed to give me the idea. I just was kind of like, I just didn't know. I knowing now that the rainbow sock what it meant, I would have already been more on top of my game sooner. It's just that I was still baffled as to why I was invited there and what these people wanted and who they were, and I don't know. It is what it is. When it comes to wearing on the right, I think that if you wear on the right side, that means that you are LG, and if you wear it on the left side, you're not LG. I've never had an earring, so I don't know, but I think
Yeah,
that
there was the episode of Seinfeld, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But if like one of the like the owner of the restaurant or something comes and starts talking to them and is really, really kind of turning his head so he could show you the earring and his just one ear. Yeah.
But by the way, let me see. Somebody says my friend and her husband got solicited by swingers. It was mad. There was sometime in the past few years that I was on a cruise, which I don't usually do. It's a really long story. It's not really my scene, but I was on a cruise, and what somebody told me to beware, because if there's people on the cruise that have a shirt that has an upside down pineapple on it, it means that they're swingers. And I was just warned to stay away from it, so I don't wanna go any further here. Because the thing is that there was a lady that I was sort of, cool with, and then there was this couple that, like, seemed to really be nice to us, but in a way that already made me feel weird,
Gotcha.
and,
Yeah.
but they didn't have the shirts, but then it was explained to me that actually if they did have the shirts, we'd know for sure that, and then I was looking to see, and I think some people had the upside down pineapple shirts. I didn't know anything about this. It's a whole, thing that I'm again not an expert in. I didn't understand the rainbow at the time. I didn't understand what the upside down pineapple meant. I still don't even get what it means. Why would an upside down pineapple mean that? But maybe somebody knows. I don't know.
Mm, yeah.
Uh,
No idea. No, no idea why that would represent that. But sometimes, I guess sometimes a
yes,
pineapple is
Caleb.
just a pineapple.
I guess Caleb Levine. Yes, I am on top of my game. I'm not sorry. I use use that situation. Swingers usually place a flamingo in the yard as a signal to other swingers. Maybe
Yes, that is. I've heard that one. Yeah, especially in Florida.
that's what people do. Then I guess the pineapple and the flamingo. I had no idea. It's not my scene. I don't really know what to do with that. But listen, again, people do whatever is good for them. To me, that doesn't seem like something that I'd want to be involved in. But can't tell people how to live their lives. I don't even care if those people with the rainbow socks or whatever, I don't care what they do in their own spare time. It's just like I feel like they thought they were going to a place and trying to convert people to their thing. And they were almost disguised as like not that, but then they like suddenly became that. I don't really know if I'm explaining myself well, but I think you understand. Anyhow,
Yeah.
that's how I learned about the rainbow. Also, if you get asked to place your car keys in a bowl at the entrance, don't go in.
Yeah, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do
No,
that.
that I'll never
Nope.
do. By the way, about earrings, you know what it reminded me? You know what movie I forgot to tell you, Professor? You inspired me to do this. You know what I did this week? You're not going to believe it.
Oh, no. What?
Okay. I watched the original Lilo and Stitch,
Oh, yes.
and then I went to the theater and watched the new one because I wanted to compare the two, and I wanted to be, knowledgeable. And I do have some comments.
Alright.
Did you see both of them?
I have not seen the new one, no. I have not seen the new one. I've heard a few people discuss it. I've heard that for the most part, pretty good. Some changes to the ending. It's not one that we've gotten to the theater to see at this point.
There are fundamental changes. First of all, I want to say this: the animated one is better. I thought that the animated one it does what it needs to do, and I think that this movie it's going to make a lot of money. It's already made a lot of money. It's going to make a lot more money. I understand that out of all these weird Disney movies, this one has enough things that are similar to the original, without completely annoying you throughout a lot of the movie. I think that the way they did Stitch was pretty. He's kind of cute in this movie. I think that the little girl that plays Lilo, I think she's a good child actress. The cast is rather likable. There's a lot of things that the movie gets right, but there are some things that are annoying. First of all, I think that Vance, what's his name? Vance, Courtney B. Vance, I think plays what
Yeah,
Ving Rhames did
yeah, yeah,
in the live action version. First of all, they split it into two characters. They have Tia Carrera that played in the original, and she's now playing like a social worker, but then she brings this other guy. So the other guy is sort of like the Cobra Bubbles guy.
yes.
Now, what I want to tell you is from what I could tell, and I could be wrong, it looked like in the original animated one, Cobra Bubbles has two earrings. But in this one, it seemed like Cobra Bubbles only has one earring, and the earring was in his right ear, meaning wink, wink. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They
Yep.
they didn't say anything about it. It's not like anybody dwelled on it, but I wondered why he only has one earring, and it was the one that's like, So it was that one. That's a minor detail. That's not the thing that ruined it for me. There were things that I think also as cost cutting measures. What's his name? Peakley and the other guy.
Oh gosh, I don't remember all their names.
Never mind, the two
No.
creatures that came from that other planet to search
Yes.
for him on the planet,
Yes.
in the animated version, they just look like funny creatures and they're walking around. In
Yeah.
this live action version, basically they arrive looking like funny creatures, but then they have a special machine that masks their appearance to look like blend into where they're at and they look human. I think that the reason why they did it is because to save money, because then you don't have to have the whole movie with them as CGI. You just kind of in certain select parts have them that way. So it probably saved a few dollars. I couldn't be angry at it. I mean, it makes sense to save some money, but I probably liked it that they looked like creatures better than them disguised as humans. Didn't like that as much. For me, though, if I had to say like the biggest problem with this movie, and I don't think I'm doing a spoiler here. If you've seen the movie, you've seen it, and if you haven't, you haven't. And if you've seen the original, I'm only I don't think I'm spoiling or ruining anything, but there's one thing here. In the original movie, the whole idea is that the parents died, correct?
Yes.
And the sister is now sort of the head of the household. She has to raise her sister, little sister, and at the same time she needs to work, she needs to, provide for them, and she needs to take care of her sister. And somehow this is a story that you can really empathize with. You're like, okay, well, you're rooting for this sister that she's basically taking the role as the mother. And in addition, there's also this guy that she's sort of like cool with, this David guy who seems nice, the guy with the surfboard. So there's that going on. And then there's Stitch. And the idea in the movie is they don't want the social worker to take Lilo away from the sister. And that's what you're rooting for. Here in this
Yeah.
movie, they make it so I think that David has a mother who's a neighbor. And this mother is like, more involved in things, and I kept thinking to myself, why did they add this character? Why do we actually need her here? And at the end of the movie, you understand why. Because you know how the movie ends, Professor?
How it ends?
Yes.
Uh, I've heard some details of it, but not all. Yeah,
Okay, so basically what happens is that throughout the movie, Tia Carrera, the social worker, is trying to convince uh, her sister or older sister to not raise her, but to actually put her up for adoption. And at some point, she sort of agrees to it because there's something with a medical bill and some weird crap about medical health insurance and I don't know what. That also felt a bit strange. You know what I mean? What are you
yeah,
seeking medical insurance here? What do you want from me? You know what I mean? There was something about it that felt a little bit of like, are they shoving in some kind of Obamacare? Maybe it wasn't that bad, but it's like don't I don't want to hear about your medical insurance. Just shut up. You know what I mean? So they tried to tie that into why she needs to give her up for adoption. And at the end of the movie, basically, uh, they tell the older sister that she can go to college because at the beginning of the movie, that's another thing. This neighbor that didn't exist in the movie, she comes up to her and she says, I took this out of the trash because I see that the best school in the world accepted you to study marine biology. So like I don't want you to give away your career. And that's like has nothing to do with the movie. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I thought to myself, what is this lady that shouldn't be here? And why is she talking about some career with marine biology? I knew that this was like a planting that's going to pay off in the shittiest way. So at the end, basically, instead of them being a family and her taking care of her sister, the neighbor is like, "Well, I'll help you. She can stay with me. Meanwhile, you can go to to a flight I don't know where, and like you can study marine biology there. Your career is so important. It's more important than your family or whatever it is." It's like that's not the point of the movie. The whole point is they're a
Yeah.
family. Like
Ohana,
like
right?
they
Ohana means family. That was
Right.
the
They
whole
want to
point of the
basically
yeah.
take the beats and the emotional setups and payoffs from the original movie, but they want to like clobber that whole thing of them wanting to be a family. You know what I mean? And it's just so annoying. And what it also brings me to, we were talking about Ubisoft before and how they're sort of they want to pretend they're not woke, but they're very woke. I feel like that's kind of the passive aggressive bullshit we're sorry, Sean, we're going to be seeing from Disney moving forward too. It's like they just have to stick it to them. It can't be that it's like a wholesome family thing. You have to throw some weird monkey wrench into there that I don't even quite understand what you want. What was wrong? And you know what? You know how I know that they're just, taking a dump on some kind of family unit, any family unit, even though it's a sister taking care of a sister? You know how I know that it's just their petty and bitter crap? Because if they already wanted to have the older sister study while also having Lilo that she's raising, they could have easily done it because in this version they have cell phones and stuff. So that means that it's modern day and there's technology. So how do you solve it? She's taking courses online.
Or she's studying to be what?
A marine biologist or something.
Do you know where some of the most incredible marine biologist courses, studies, programs are in the world?
Where?
Hawaii.
Okay.
Some of the most well-regarded marine biologist programs in the world, Hawaii.
Maybe
There
that's
is
where the program is.
absolutely
So she didn't have to move away. I
there's
don't know
no
why she has to move
reason,
away.
no reason at all for her to move away. And
It's so fucking like sorry, Sean. It's so annoying that they did that. And it's like I don't like that they twist. And there's another thing that I also noticed. At the end, in the original movie, the way that Lilo gets to keep Stitch is she said, I adopted him. I paid for him. This is my adoption papers. I own him. If you're taking him now, you're going to be stealing. And then the lady's like, "Well, that's actually what tips the scale to the galactic lady person." So that's what happens in the animated one. In this
yeah.
one, I think they want to stop short of saying that she owns him. Do you get what I'm
Yeah, because
saying?
you don't
So,
own pets, right? You're just their caretakers. Yeah.
right, but the fact that you even own that was probably a not in their safe space, so they removed that. So she's like, they're dancing around the issue somehow, but they don't want to say that she owns him. So that whole part where she has the paper and she actually uses her brain how to get rid of these people because they like their rules and that's the way you get rid of them. It kind of all goes away. It's what I keep telling you. If you want to write a movie that you take so many scenes and copy paste them, but then in a few key parts you don't want to do it, then don't do the movie. Either you have a completely different take and just do something, or if you want to do like shot by shot and really stay as true as possible to the original, don't try to create a similar structure but then remove these important elements, because at the end it feels like you're what it's as if, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you have a computer and if I opened it up and removed a few of the boards and you turned it on, it wouldn't be the same computer, right?
Yeah,
Like, you can't just remove stuff and be like, "Oh, nobody'll notice." No, we noticed it.
it's the movie of Theseus. No. Yeah, if yeah, I like I said, I had heard several things. I don't think this completely destroys the film. I really don't. From what I've heard anyway. Obviously, like I said, I have not gotten to see it myself.
It
Might
wasn't.
get an opportunity to take the kids here in the next week or so, but it has, my daughter is kind of interested in seeing it, but at the same time, the other she was like, I kind of want to see that. And I was like, well, when did you last watch the animated one? She's like, oh, it's been a really long time. I'm like, well, let's just watch the animated one then. She's like, cool. So we sat down and watched the animated one. Why not?
Listen,
Because she really enjoys that film. I really enjoy that film. The animated film is really, it's one of the last great 2D animated films that Disney made. It's
I
really
only
good.
watched it because of you, Professor. You told me to watch
Yes.
it. And I will say this: the little girl that plays Lilo and the whatever they did with Stitch, that is nice. I mean, I don't think that that's bad. I think the little girl's a good actress. I think that the way they did Stitch, he comes off as very likable. I think that they did some good decisions when it comes to the visuals, and I'm not going to just rip it apart that it's all bad, but I don't know why they couldn't just stay a little more true to what it is and why they needed to shove that in there. I do know, but maybe it's not enough to ruin the movie, but I still, at the end, when I saw it, it kind of annoyed me. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I don't know, how did I
Yeah.
get to how
No.
do we get to Lilo and Stitch? Oh, the guy with the earring, because the guy had an earring on his right ear.
Yeah, yeah. I
His
think it's
right ear.
I believe it is the right ear is okay. The left ear specifically is
I thought the
if
left
you're
meant that
gay.
you were like, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
left is gay.
Which earring is
If I remember incorrectly, that was the deal. If you had the
okay,
thing in
okay,
only the left ear, you were gay.
okay.
Yeah.
There's no specific earring or ear piercing that indicates a person's sexual. I know that. The
Says
idea of
Google.
yeah, okay. Historically, some male gay communities may have used a single earring in the right ear
Huh.
as
Okay.
a subtle signal. You're not knowledgeable about your gay
That's
earrings,
me.
Professor.
Yeah.
The right ear is a subtle signal, but this was not a universal practice and largely fallen out of use. Today, wearing either is in either ear or in both is simply a fashion choice. The association between earrings and a specific sexual orientation is a misconception. All right. Uh, fine, I guess. This is very nitpicky.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it was
Cobra.
the right ear. Yeah. Was considered the if you had just the earring in the right ear, that was supposed to be a signal that you were gay. But yes,
And now
whatever. It doesn't matter.
and now let me show you this. This is Cobra Bubbles. Are you with me?
Yeah.
I believe that that is on his right ear. And I think he only has one. It's not like Reams that had in both of them. See it?
Yep.
Now,
Whatever.
I mean, listen, I don't care. I guess, like, listen, if all Disney ever did was this, Now I just like I can't even watch their movie without thinking, "Oh, what did they think? Like, what are they doing?" There's some kind of ploy. So, unfortunately, in the past, where I wouldn't really even notice this or care one way or another, now like my radar just like I look at every stupid thing they do. I notice like every dumb, annoying thing they do. But yeah, I feel like they were trying to say that. Anyhow, that was that.
Phantom Outsider says it used to be the left ear was that you crossed the equator for sailors. So I asked if that meant someone went below the equator. I'm not really sure which it means.
I have no idea. Men wearing earrings may be that regardless of what ear. It's true. It's true. How did we get here, Professor?
Yeah, talking about movies. I don't know. Were there any other big topics we wanted to cover tonight, Price?
Uh I'm not sure.
There were a couple of other things that I read about today. We talked about Musk and Trump. So I gotta sneeze. Hold on.
Okay, wait. Let me see if I may have highlighted some stuff. Let me see if I did. First of
Oh,
all, I saw something that I really liked. Are you with me?
yeah, yeah, I'm here.
This is a palate cleanser. I don't know what kind of cat this is, but I really like it.
I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it's definitely got some very wild look to it. But
It's hard not to like this cat.
yeah,
That's what I'll say.
who doesn't love to give a cat a good pet? It's
That's true.
nice and relaxing. Yes. This
Oh,
past
and then
my wife had to travel in the past week, and she did not have cats around to pet. She did not have our cats around, so she actually came back. She's like, I actually really missed having a cat in my lap to pet. I really needed it.
I like cats too. So this was just something silly that breaking Vladimir Putin has offered to negotiate a peace deal between President Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of amusing.
Yeah, nice.
And then
Uh, let's
there's
see.
this. Well, you talked about this. But there's the happy launch day for Twitch.
Yeah, the Switch
Sorry,
for the
for a
Switch
Switch
2.
too.
Yep.
I'm tired.
Yep, that came out today.
Nintendo
Yep.
Switch 2. And there was also you did mention that they were ruining the screens, right? Instead of like
Oh
using
gosh,
tape.
yes, there was something that had happened. There were posts about the Switch 2 screens. Um oh gosh, I think I had one up earlier. Um
They think it's a lynx or a Norwegian forest cat.
it could be a Norwegian forest cat. Yeah. Yeah.
Looks
Those are
exactly like Switch 1. I'm sure it's
yeah.
better than Switch 1.
It is better than the original Switch. But yeah, they stuck to a very similar design. Yeah, this is here we go. I'll share this. It'll let me. Yeah,
By the
this
way, if
is
you're not already subbed to this channel, you should definitely do it. If you're not already following us on Rumble, you should do it. Rumble is our headquarters, but also this streams on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And on Rumble, if you haven't signed up for Rumble, you should do it. It's free. And then you should also follow us and get notifications so you'll know when we're streaming. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:45 p.m. Eastern, and we love hanging out with everybody. So if you're not already subbed to this channel or not following, you should do it right now. Immediately. Do it.
yes, do it, and then buy merch.
It's okay. You
It's
know what?
okay.
Let's start with the following.
Yeah,
We'll see
yeah,
what
yeah.
happens.
Follow it. You can get around
There
to the
is a
merch
merch
later.
store. Yeah,
There
you're
is merch.
definitely welcome to.
There is merch. So yeah, it appears there was a store. I believe they said it was in New Jersey where the GameStop was or actually oh well no, this looks like it was in Staten Island, New York. Actually here. Yeah, there we go. Staten Island. Where as they were sending people home with their brand new Nintendo Switches, they were taking the receipts and just stapling them onto the top of the box as they were handing things out to the people. And of course, the actual system itself was packed very close to the top of the box. There's not a lot of like material in between there. And this screen, just as with the original Switch, this is not a glass screen. This is a plastic screen. It's got some coatings on there to make it, less likely to scratch, but it's still a plastic screen. It's not glass. And so, yeah, they bang the staple through. And I mean, you've seen people do this before. They take the stapler and kind of whack it, to drive the staple down into something. And of course, drove it down right into the screen. It's
Yeah, so stupid.
just dumb. So
Well, what
dumb.
can you do?
Thankfully, yeah, no, I picked mine up from Best Buy. Best Buy just puts stickers all over the damn thing. So, yeah, yeah,
There was
that's
something else that
whew.
I remember I saw today. Just a quick trying to find this. So there's this. Oh, okay. There's this article about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in Vanity Fair, and surprisingly, this article actually was more, I think, pro Johnny, and it almost feels like even the tide is turning on that. The fact that sort of in this article, they're basically presenting her in a negative light and saying that she was very eager for them to get married because she thought that she would get money from it. It's surprising because Vanity Fair is kind of fluffy. You'd think that they, the fact that they published this, I don't know what it means, but it's not something we've seen before. So maybe
Yep.
it's a sort of tide turning situation.
Oh yeah, yeah. Who knows? I think a lot of people have turned on Amber Heard.
Right, but the mainstream media were really, really trying to
They
not do
were,
it.
they were. Oh yeah, they
See,
believe all women. You gotta,
See,
they gotta
they
stand
suddenly write,
behind her no
according to
matter what.
Johnny's assistant Nathan, when they were married, Amber would get half of all he'd make on his film, so she wanted to be married before the next Pirates film. Heard did not respond to the author's interview request during the book writing process. She later testified the wedding was moved to avoid scheduling delays. Still, there were some things there that seemed relatively surprising that people were saying. I mean, it's not 100%, but even stuff like that was she don't love him. Betty Sue said, venomously loud enough for everybody in the small room, including Amber, to hear. A lot of interesting things,
Yeah.
and I just think maybe it's like it's so late in the game that they even do this now. You know what I mean? It's like they're saying what we were saying before he was even on trial.
Yep. Yep. It's maybe finally people are starting to turn the page on this and realize that
And
realize how ridiculous all of it is. Yeah.
another thing I wanted to show you here is that Andor. Tony Gilroy said this week that like every episode of Andor costs at least like $27 million to make,
Uh-huh.
and I understand that a lot of people they're like telling me, "Oh, it's so great for the brand and it was well received." And you know what? It was more well received than a lot of the other crap that Lucasfilm has done over the years under Kathleen Kennedy. But at the same time, I still don't think that it's worth $27 million an episode. I think that
No.
with $27 million per episode, something else could be done. That is a lot of money. And I keep saying Godzilla minus one, he made that for $15 million. The fact that you needed $27 million for some of these Andor episodes, which were complete filler, I think it's lame. But people were saying that they didn't flush it down the toilet, like I said, because it was good for their brand. You know, was it good? Was it $650 million good? I'm not sure. That's a lot of money.
That is an awful lot of money. Yeah.
Yep. And I'll see if there's anything else. Disney is laying off people.
Yeah, I saw Disney's laying people off. There was some discussion of some of the Succession, behind Kathleen Kennedy. Did you see any of that? Any of those things?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Sorry, there was Filoni and Carrie Beck or something.
Yes, yes. They're saying that essentially, the guess is the assumption right now is that it would be Filoni and Carrie Beck, who's like the head of production, I think, right now. That they would together would be the ones taking over.
Ba-
Um,
Basically, I can sum up this whole fiasco in one sentence. I can show you one paragraph that will explain this whole fiasco, and you'll know exactly how what's going on. You'll understand everything just by looking at one paragraph. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay. I read the article, and when I got that, I think I stopped reading after that. Like I chuckled a big chuckle. It's exactly. I was actually looking for this. I was looking for this to be inside the article, and it didn't disappoint me. But let me see if I can find this thing. That'll be the last item we go through. Here we go. Let's see if I can share it. They're so slippery sometimes, these articles. Are you with me?
Yep, that's the article that I read. Yep.
Okay, so there's one thing. You can scroll down. It's a bunch of bullshit. Sorry, Sean, for hard to finish. But then there's a part where you already understand everything. You have to really go down here until you find it. Oh, man, this is like they wrote a book with this crap, and they buried the most important part of this stupid very much at the end. Okay. Are you ready for the part? This is a combination of comedy, PR spin, and bullshit, and shills from these industry trades. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Oh, shoot. Ugh, okay. There's this picture. I've used this picture before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
All hat, no
shoot.
cattle.
Okay. This is funny. Lucasfilm seems likely to follow that path in replacing Kennedy, despite speculation about outside candidates, including former 20th century head Emma Watts. Insiders say the company seems most likely to promote from within. Now, keep in mind, the good idea would be to bring somebody that has nothing to do with this, somebody with credentials, somebody from far away. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a woman. And instead, they're like likely to promote within. That's already an issue because who are you going to promote within? They haven't been doing good work. Who are you going to promote
Mm-hmm.
then? So then the current thinking is a scenario where Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni and production head Carrie Beck, both Lucasfilm vets, take co-head roles. Even as an arm of Disney, Lucasfilm remains in many ways a family business. No, it doesn't remain a family business. This is such bullshit.
No.
Such bullshit. It's not a family business. And as a George Lucas protege, Filoni long has been considered a golden boy. Not after Ahsoka, not after some of the bullshit that he's done. I don't think that people think Star Wars fans, I think at this point, don't think he's the golden boy. So that's not correct. A show into wait a second, but the knock against him is that he might be too steeped in Star Wars lore and risk steering a show into dense mythology that loses a broader audience. That's not what his issue is. His issue is that he does stupid things sometimes, and also he may be okay at some animated stuff, but he's not good at the live action. And yeah, he may have worked for George Lucas, but sadly, he ain't no George Lucas. And then somebody's saying he's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy. Says one Disney insider. I mean, I understand that Andor at the end did something a little better than some of the other shit you put
Yep.
out, but really nothing you've done is on the level that it should have been. Their big thing now is that Andor, I guess, in one of the weeks on Nielsen or something, was like in third place on streaming. Now, is that nice for Star Wars considering how they've ruined the brand and like dragged it through the mud and destroyed it? Sure. Is it such a big deal considering the $650 million that they
Oh
poured
yeah.
into it? I don't know what to tell you. So back to
He's
this guy.
he's he's worse than the Ahsoka guy, by the way. He's the lesbian space witches guy. He's the guy responsible for introducing lesbian space witches.
You're probably right. Uh, Beck, who joined the company in 2012, knows the ins and outs, but neither she nor Filoni have much film experience exactly. But this is the part, big punchline, which could be mitigated by Kennedy's continued presence as a producer on certain Star Wars projects, ensuring quality control in the short term. And this is the biggest spin. This is the bullshit. The whole article, 70
Yep.
pages. This is it. This is the part of the article that the only part that matters. They have been chosen as from the inside because it has to be quote unquote because there's nothing because they are already there, so they need to like promote from within, and because they're not experienced enough, Kathleen Kennedy has no choice but to continue to be a presence even after she leaves.
Yep. She's going to stick around. She's going to keep, producing and keep pushing the directors around and keep pushing writers around and so on and so forth. Yep.
We've been saying for a long time that she's looking to be sort of like an Amy Pascal, that like she's out but she still gets to be a producer on all these things. And man, I think that would be a mistake. I think that the thing, first of all, I don't even know what could save this franchise, but if they wanted to even try to think about it, somebody needs to fire her, remove her from the building, and have her have nothing to do with anything. She cannot be involved in anything. No more credits on any Star Wars related project. She has no say, no nothing. And you remove her from there, and that's it. And Filoni and Carrie Beck, at best, if you bring a team of competent people, maybe you keep them around and they can do some cartoons or something. That's probably like the most that I think they'd be good for at this point. So that was that story, and I think at this point we can say goodbye to people.
Yeah, sure. Okay, hold on. I'll get you some Rumble names
Stephen
here.
Mack, KK, and quality control should never be in the same sentence. Absolutely. Yeah, but that thing that's like they want to replace her with them, but then she'll still be there. That is so pathetic. So I want to say goodbyes to some people on Rumble. We have Reach M842, Bigot on Socialist Media, the lovely Sherry, Phobos, Magic Moon, Elizabeth Quince, Sleeping Giant 111, Jimmy Nature, well noted, Donnie Potwin, and then DJ Ronnie G, Bingo Hazmat, J Satek, Libtard Zero, Libtardo, or One Dirty Bird, Dude Bro Seth 420, Cheers, Mark Kornkey, Darren Mai, and Liberty Talk.
Okay.
No, I'm not. First of all, I want to clarify. I'm not gonna do anything.
Mitch, you don't need,
No, I would never do that.
no.
Listen, I don't like Kathleen Kennedy. I think she's a terrible executive, but that's not something. All I'm saying is that she should be fired, because if she's not good at what she does, she should be fired. But of course, never. I want to make it clear. I would never advocate for anybody, anything bad to happen to somebody. I personally think she's a terrible executive, that she shouldn't be in charge of Star Wars. But as far as I'm concerned, if they tell her she's fired and tell her not to come back there, I'm cool with that. That's all that's necessary. Nothing else.
All right. And
Big on social media. Thanks. That was fun. See you next week. It was fun hanging out.
Okay.
YouTube side, right?
My YouTube list is finally generated here. So, let's see. We had a few people hanging out with us. Phantom Outsider, it's Phobos, Tim Hayes, Ams S, Barbara Lawrence, Jeanette, Caleb Levine, Yidis, Adam Gray in the chat to help mod for us. Let's see, we have some others here. Mary White, a good friend of the channel. Vex Electronica was around for a few minutes there. Pam Hill, FKHC 2005, Smilex, Zone RJ5, Marla Sharondoff, Jonathan Conroy, Marks 47, the lovely Sherry, Mur Rockstro, Eranthi Hetiwa, Hetahiwa. I'm probably got that very wrong. Darren M, Stephen Mack, SWD40, and Granola Grin. I think I got just about everybody in there, but if I missed someone, sorry. And thanks for being here. And of course, thanks to everyone who might just be hanging out and listening, just
Oh,
lurking.
final thing. I see Elizabeth Quince, and I want to answer your question. You asked if Worf, and I only saw this much later when I was scrolling. You asked if you were remembering correctly that Worf had a kid. He did have a kid. There
Yes.
was a woman that he had some kind of relationship with, and then they had a kid. But I recall that woman dying.
Yes. So that was yes. Alexander was his son, and yes, he had a relationship with Kalar, who was she was half human, half Klingon, and yeah, after during the whole succession thing where they were going to have the new chancellor of the Klingons, she ended up getting killed, and so yeah, he ended up becoming the only parent, and he was a terrible father for the most part. He basically spent every episode trying to pawn his kid off on somebody else.
He wasn't a very good father.
And
Dude
then
says
yeah.
Worf's son was annoying. He was played by Brian Bonzal, at least at some point, which
Oh
was
yeah, he was played by
also
like 5 different actors, I think,
at one
across
point he
the
was
years.
the same kid that also played Andy on Family Ties. But go on.
Might have been, yeah. But yeah, it was played by quite a few different actors, and then eventually Alexander was brought back in Deep Space Nine as an adult, as a grown man,
There was something
and
with like a
and they
time.
reconciled their relationship, and that was actually a really good little arc that they had there. Yeah.
I thought there was something with like time travel, with like an older version of him showed up or
There
something.
was, yes. There was an episode where an actor showed up, and it was actually really funny because I caught on to the whole thing early on in watching the episode and didn't even realize I had caught on to it. So yes, there's an episode where they go to like a Klingon festival and they meet this other Klingon, and he tells them, "Oh, you need to teach Alexander all about being Klingon and tell them who they are." And then you find out that it's actually was Alexander from the future coming back to say, you needed to teach me to be more Klingon because you died because I wasn't strong enough. Right. You ended up dying because I couldn't protect you. And so it was this Alexander from the future. And here's the funny when I was watching that episode, I actually caught on to the fact that that was Alexander from the future without realizing it, because I realized that they had the same forehead makeup. You know how they
Oh
have the ridges and the
yes,
different shapes? I kind of recognized that the guy was like, that guy's got like almost the exact same ridges as Alexander's makeup. That's interesting. And then in the end, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't pick up on that. It actually is him. That's why it looks the same.
but weren't you
So,
surprised? I know that you know this, but weren't you surprised about the amount of information that I knew about it, Professor?
yeah.
See, I people think that I don't know anything about Star Trek, but actually, I think that I can surprise people. And whoever was asking in the chat here, this this thing about Kirk and Spock, I don't think that was in of Khan. I think that was maybe in what was it, the Undiscovered Country, which is the one that it has that Kirk is already like bitter because his own son was killed by
Yeah.
Khan.
Wrath of Khan. Oh,
And
sorry. We're
then
not
there's
Wrath of Khan.
something
So
that they're in like
that's yeah. Sorry. No. Undiscovered Country. Yeah. You're right.
they're in a room, like they have something, and Spock says something that pisses off Kirk, and then they're just both of them in the room, and they have a very tense conversation. I don't know if that's what people were referring to. I have no idea.
Yeah, there's a few different scenes there where they're at loggerheads, depending on what situation it was in. But yeah, there was that scene especially. I really love that scene because it's done really well with photography and everything. The cinematography of it, you've got most of the time you've got the two of them. They're side by side. They're up close to each other. They're talking. That relationship is a very, very close relationship between those two characters. In that scene that you're talking about from Undiscovered Country, they've got them standing in two completely different ends of the table. This very, very long table. They're having this conversation, sort of representing the gulf between them in this discussion, right? And then also one of them is standing mostly in the dark while the other one is standing, well lit, sort of presenting the different perspectives there. So yeah, it's a really good scene.
So that's the only other one I could think of. If it's Kirk and
Yeah.
Spock. Phantom Outsider Worf's only true son was Jeremy, who went back in time and tried to take over New Detroit with RoboCop as opposition. Was it a kid that was also in the kid in RoboCop 2? I didn't know.
Yeah, that's funny.
I didn't even know. But yeah, RoboCop 2 is a movie that I haven't watched many times. I watched it maybe twice in my life. The first one I've seen a million times. I love it. The second one is just like whatever. And the third one is even more whatever. But it's good that we went over
Yeah.
this. And
Jeremy was the kid who he sort of adopted after he was in command of a mission, and there was a lady that he was in command of that died, and so she left her son as an orphan, and so he tried to adopt Jeremy. Yeah, so yeah, that's who it's talking about. But yeah, I think he was in the RoboCop.
I
Was he in
assume that he
RoboCop
was in
3?
RoboCop.
I think he was in RoboCop 3.
I thought it was RoboCop 2.
Was it
RoboCop 2 is
2?
the one with the kid.
Oh, okay.
And then RoboCop 3 had a different actor. It wasn't any longer. It wasn't Peter Weller. And it was kind of lame, the third one.
Oh yeah, the third one's awful. The second one has its bits. The second one has its bits that are enjoyable. Even though it's kind of just a rehash of the first movie in a lot of ways. The second one is enjoyable. But yeah, the third one is just terrible. I've only watched the third one one time. I've never ever gone back to it.
I recently discovered, and this will be the final thing that I'll tell you. I recently discovered that there was actually a TV show. I think in the late 80s or 90s or whatever it is, a RoboCop TV show
Yes.
that sort of
Yeah.
acted as a sequel to the first movie. And I actually suddenly I had access to it on one of those streaming services, and I pressed play and I watched the first few episodes. In the first episode, even though it's not really taking the same names and elements from the first movie, he has flashbacks with cuts from the original movie of them shooting Murphy. It was very, very odd. It's a strange animal, that series. It's not very good. I watched it and I didn't especially like what I was seeing, but I was kind of intrigued by it, even though I didn't really like it.
Yeah. There's word that Amazon is developing a new RoboCop TV show.
Yeah, I
A
don't
new
know.
series.
It'll be like a woman RoboCop or something.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that on this positive note that we've gone over all these things, it's been nice hanging out. We went all over the place.
All over the place tonight. Well,
We meandered, but we still covered our main stories, the one that were on the thumbnail, and we still were able to go in a lot of different directions. And of course, thank you all for hanging out with us. Again, please like and subscribe and follow and all that good stuff. And Professor, do you want to say anything? B-roll, something? You want to plug something?
yes. Tomorrow night on B-roll stage, we'll be doing B-sides. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we'll be doing that tonight. Barbara Lawrence, Adam, and our crew, Smilex and Jethro. We'll be doing that tomorrow night. I'll put the link here in the YouTube for B-roll stage, and then also over on Rumble. So you can tune in there if you enjoy riffing on some movies like MST3K style. That we do that every Friday evening at it's 8 Central for me. So yeah.
Cool. I don't know if I said hi to Jimmy Nature, but I don't know if he was on our list.
I think
I'll
he
say
was.
hi to him
Yeah.
now. Anyhow, I guess we've done our show. We're wrapping things up, and we'll see you all here on Tuesday.
Yeah. Night, everybody.
Bye.